Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. 103.3 at 6 to 9 a.m.
From TWR. Your host is Andy Napier.
TWR's George Ross spent over 25 years on the island of Guam, the site of two 250,000-watt shortwave transmitters. Now, George, when you were first testing these two new transmitters, you had some unexpected listeners. Tell us that story.
We were broadcasting to do test trials over our transmitters, and we were focused on India. We had a lot of response coming back from those test broadcasts, but at the same time, a side lobe of that broadcast was hitting Japan. And the enthusiasm from some Japanese listeners led us to make some contacts there and find out they were very interested in receiving Japanese programs from us. And the Lord just moved things around in a remarkable way. We did tests. We became very encouraged from the results. The first response was from an unbeliever, someone who had not heard about Jesus Christ before. And he was listening to the Unshackled broadcast, which shares true-to-life scenarios about people that accept Jesus Christ. And he wrote to us saying he couldn't get over how great the reception was, the quality of the program. And he said, I think this is based specifically for Christians. And he says, I'm having a hard time dealing with how I relate back to it, but I want to hear more.
Wow.
And that's just what we want, isn't it?
It is. Believers and unbelievers hungering and thirsting for the truth. To learn more about TWR's outreach from Guam, go to twr.org/footsteps. twr.org/footsteps.
Footsteps is a production of TWR.
From time to time, you will hear the mention of a business or ministry here on Moody Radio Cleveland. These businesses have partnered with WCRF to underwrite some of the costs associated with our broadcasting, which helps us to do more and do it better. If you would be interested in knowing more about underwriting possibilities, contact our station manager, Josh Villa, at 440-526-1111. That's 440-526-1111. Josh would love to hear from you.
Helping you take the next step in your walk with Christ. And home of Mornings with Brian. This is Moody Radio Cleveland, WCRF Cleveland, WVMS Sandusky, WVML Millersburg, WVMN Newcastle, WVME Meadville, WVMU Ashtabula, and everywhere with the Moody Radio app or at moodyradio.org/Cleveland.
The U.S. and its allies in the Indo-Pacific are pledging to boost maritime security in the region. It's 6 o'clock. I'm Ron Eastwood, Moody Radio News. Secretary of State Antony Blinken was in Tokyo, where he met with his counterparts from Australia, India, and Japan. The allies called China the greatest strategic challenge, citing threatening maneuvers in the South China Sea. An air quality advisory remains in effect today for 8 Northeast Ohio regions. The residents of Cuyahoga, Summit, Ashtabula, Geauga, Lake, Lorain, Medina, and Portage counties are all being advised that air quality levels may be unhealthy. The Northeast Ohio Area-Wide Coordinating Agency reports that children, the elderly, and those with breathing difficulties could experience health issues with outdoor activities today. And Norton police are investigating a Sunday incident in which suspects reportedly threw damaging chemicals onto a woman's legs at Silver Creek Metro Park. The woman was walking on the Chippewa Trail when approached by two individuals who threw unidentified chemicals that caught fire and left her with severe burns. I'll be right back with sports and weather.
Deciding to homeschool is brave. The journey will be rich and rewarding, but it's also often exhausting and lonely. Here comes author September McCarthy with biblical wisdom, personal stories, and a treasure of insight in her book, Hope for Your Homeschool: How to Create a Culture at Home that Fortifies Hearts and Sharpens Young Minds. She'll build you up while helping you avoid burnout. Hope for Your Homeschool. Start strong, stay the course, and finish with joy. Available at moodypublishers.com.
In sports, the Guardians edged the Phillies 4-3, and the Pirates downed the Diamondbacks 6-5 in extra innings. Meantime, the U.S. heads into the third full day of Olympic competition at the top of the medal standing. Team USA has won a total of 12 medals, including 3 gold, 6 silver, and 3 bronze. France is second with 8 total medals, and Japan is third with 7. Here now, your Moody Radio Cleveland forecast. Partly sunny with a chance of showers and thunderstorms this morning, then becoming mostly cloudy with showers and thunderstorms likely this afternoon. Our high temperatures are going to be in the lower 80s. At last check, we had mostly cloudy skies, 69 degrees in Cleveland. Akron and Canton mostly cloudy as well, 70 degrees there. Skies are clear in Youngstown, where it's 63 degrees.
It's time for your moron moment.
You don't have to be Italian or a fat orange cartoon cat to celebrate National Lasagna Day on July 29th. Tomato sauce, cheese, meat, and vegetables all separated by wide, flat noodles. What's not to love? Lasagna first showed up in Naples, Italy during the Middle Ages and made its way to America in the 19th century. Since then, Americans have made it all their own. And I do love lasagna. And that's your Moron Moment. And you'll find that on our Facebook and Instagram. It's 6:03. With Moody Radio News, I'm Ron Eastwood.
Broadcasting live from the Bob Devine studio, it's Mornings with Brian. Want to join the conversation? Call or text now at 440-546-2255.
Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. 103.3 at 6 to 9 a.m.
It's a new week. We're glad to be here. Big announcement this morning. Hey, guys. Good morning, Brian. Hi. Our keynote speaker for Renew is going to be announced yet this morning. We'll tell you more about that in a few minutes. But the Olympics are happening. Woo!
Yes, they are, and we're in first place in the medal count.
Yes, we are. It's funny how we'll talk in a moment about how the Olympics categorizes the list. Oh, they just don't want us at top, I think. That's what that is. But we'll get to that in just a second. We will cover the controversy that has just went nuts all over the weekend from the opening ceremony. The very long and very weird opening ceremony. No matter which part you look at, just the whole thing is like, okay, guys.
It's the first one that's not been in a stadium. You know, typically they march into the stadium and do a lap and then take a seat or whatever.
Did it feel a lot longer than normal, or was that just me? Are they normally that long and I just haven't paid attention?
You know, I didn't look it up, but I would imagine since they did the whole boats down the Seine thing, that would have taken longer.
Yeah.
Supposed to everybody just marching in order. But I saw video clips from a couple years ago, and that was weird too.
They're all weird.
Well, whenever you give artists a chance to do things that don't have sound, it's like interpretive dance begins and weird stuff happens. But, you know, a lot of Christians are offended. We're going to talk about the offense at 7 o'clock and see how we feel about it. I was texting with Mayor Phil from Armandoville.
Okay.
And he's anxious to hear our thoughts on that. So I'm sure somebody else is too. 7 o'clock, so we'll cover that. But for now, did you guys watch any of the games?
No.
No?
Yes.
Okay, Lauren did. Lauren and I can commiserate
it's
here.
just like always on in the background in my house. The Olympics is always on.
Yeah, my parents were in town, and we had it on a lot, so that Teddy was like, you're watching it again today?
Yeah, it's just on.
It's like, dude, it's going to be
We're
2
locked
weeks.
in. It's on.
So what did you focus on, though? How about that?
Well, I didn't focus on anything.
But you didn't at any point stop and go, oh, this is good?
No, not really.
So did you just have TV on? What did you do?
Because if you go watch it on Peacock, you can have 4 screens at once. So you can watch multiple things,
cool.
multiple events.
So you had it on, but you didn't watch it?
Not really.
Okay. All right. Yeah, we watched part of the opening ceremonies.
I watched a lot of the opening ceremonies.
Did you? You're waiting for LeBron is what you were waiting for.
No?
You just were kind of taking it all in.
I don't really care about LeBron, sorry.
That would have been the one thing I would have been interested in.
I saw him
Just
and
a
said,
kid from
that's
Akron.
Cool.
Yeah, he got to carry the flag, but it was weird because of the boat thing.
Yeah, because they're not really walking.
And it's
they're
harder
just like
to
holding
see.
it on the boat.
Right. I mean, and I remember in years past, you'd be able to really pick out all the athletes. In this one, they're all crowded in a boat.
Yeah.
So, you know. And then I heard the NBA players that are all there for Team USA, God bless them. They're like, we're not staying in Olympic Village. That's not something we'll do. We're going to just like buy a hotel or something, like rent out an entire hotel for ourselves.
The beds don't seem very nice. They're cardboard in the Olympic Village.
That's my favorite type of bed, isn't it, for you? Cardboard?
No. I did. Yeah. After the first 2 boats went by, so it was Greece and then the refugee boat, like the refugee team.
Okay.
They go back to the president of the Olympics and he had tears in his eyes. It's very sweet.
It is sweet.
Yeah.
My kids like when there was big boats with nobody on them from like, you know.
Yeah, there's like 2 people.
An island somewhere in the Pacific. But they're going to win something. They're probably pretty great. And then the U.S. has like, 1,000 people or something. Yeah. And so the medal count right now, if you go on the Olympics website, we're way down in number 4.
Is it alphabetical or something?
No, it's in gold medal ranking.
Oh, well.
So
not medals total.
No. Each with 4 gold medals is tied Japan, South Korea, and Australia. Way to go, guys. You did it. But by a landslide with total number of medals, the United States of America.
With 12.
With 12, yes.
After 3 days.
But when you go on the website, it's like Japan's number 1. What? No, you're not. We're always number 1, guys.
Do you have to count them out? Like, do you have to count them up yourself, or is there like a total?
You know, they kind of
column,
as they say in math, disaggregate the data, and they have gold, silver, and bronze like columns, and then there's a column of total.
Oh, okay.
If you ranked by total, we would be at the top for the rest of the games. But
what they should do is they should assign points to each, like the gold, silver, and bronze. Like gold would be 3 points, bronze would be 1, and then figure out who won that way.
I think people get bored with us winning all the time. Is probably what it is.
We do win a lot.
It's like I heard Simone Biles was like, people call me arrogant for saying I'm the best that there is. But if you look at
But it's
what I've
literally the
done,
Olympics,
it's,
so.
well, if you look at her record in her career, it's literally true. Like, she is the best there is at gymnastics. So she's like, it's not actually arrogant, it's actually true. So in our case, we're actually leading.
Yeah, right.
We're number one.
And we should be. We send the most athletes. We probably finance the best.
Yeah, probably.
And so to not win all the total medals would kind of be an embarrassment for us.
Is it just a numbers game for us at this point?
You're saying we have so
However
many
many
people?
we have, yeah.
We just send a bunch of people.
Although France is being all cute. France has the second highest
Being all
total.
cute.
Well, I don't think we usually are paying attention to France.
Not
It's
usually.
like us in Great Britain.
And
Like
Russia, who was
us, China, and
disqualified.
Russia is usually what it ends up being.
Yeah, and poor China has less total medals than France. France is over there like, we guys, it's home turf here. Let's win. They have 3 golds, 3 silver, and 2 bronze. Way to go, guys.
Good for them.
Wow. I was watching a video of Simone Biles just now, and it's also it's like, 2 panes, and it's her family in the other screen, and her husband is holding his breath like every time like a big jump comes.
Oh my goodness, I would too though. I did the normal thing, which is look up how tall she is.
Very, very small.
She's 4'8".
Yeah.
Oh.
Wow.
4'8".
Wasn't sure she cracked 4 foot.
It's so small. And she's cute next to her husband because he's a football player. Well, he's actually not that.
But
He's like
compared to her,
5'11".
Yeah.
But I mean,
It
when you
looks
put someone who's
huge.
4'8" next to you, you could be 5'2" and be like, whoa, that person's a giant. She's amazing. I watched a bunch of women's gymnastics, and I don't even understand it. Like, from when they're doing the floor routine, and they're like, I'm just going to jog a little bit, and then I'm going to do like a triple front flip.
Yeah, I'm just going to go straight into the air without jumping. I don't.
It's incredible. And then they do the thing where they run, and then you do a front flip, and your feet land on the. It's not the pommel horse. It's the, because that's what men do. You know when it's a front flip, and then your feet land on the little trampoline thing, and then you touch the giant
balance beam.
No, it's a giant object, and you flip a bunch.
Okay.
You're running straight. You guys don't know what I'm talking about?
Is it like
You're not doing
boxes?
a great job of describing it.
It's totally true. You flip over this object. It's a stationary object. You flip over it.
Oh, okay.
And then you try to land straight. The idea of doing a front flip at the right time after sprinting, at which point you would land accurately in a very small, like, trampoline type object, and then flip again. It's amazing. Those women.
Yeah, but they've done it thousands of times,
Yeah.
literally. So it's nature to them.
I'll figure out what that's called. I'm sorry, guys, because the men do the pommel horse where they're like swishing their legs around the thing with the handles, but it's just a giant object that they flip around, and it's somebody's specialty. So there you go. I also watched a lot of soccer, men's and women's soccer. It was a lot of fun to watch, and I did catch a little ping pong. They call it table tennis in the biz, but I call it ping pong in my house.
People are letting us know it's the vault.
Vault, yeah, vault, exactly. Would that have helped you though? I'm not a gymnastics expert. That's probably, but you understand vault.
I know it's a thing.
But they actually, they run down this long thing.
Yeah.
Front flip, feet land on the thing, and then do the flip. It's not, like I would run up and just jump on the trampoline thing to go over.
Yeah, they have to jump.
Springboard.
They have to do the flip first and then jump.
Yeah. Can you imagine trying to time that? I can't even time a somersault. That's not correct.
I wouldn't even do a somersault.
I would do one now, but I would injure myself.
Yeah, I'd like break my neck.
I would be injured, yeah. By the way, our medals currently, we have a gold in fencing, 2 golds in swimming, 3 silvers in swimming, a silver in fencing. We have a bronze in cycling road.
Okay.
Cycling road.
I have a question.
And 2 bronze in swimming. We're doing well in swimming, yeah.
I thought Michael Phelps retired.
He didn't?
Why is he there? He was still there.
Oh, I think he's
Is
like
he doing
doing all the
stuff?
talking. Yeah, he's doing the talking part.
Oh, okay. For just swimming or for like a bunch of stuff?
Probably
don't
just
know.
swimming.
Because he was in the opening ceremonies. I was like, okay, guy.
We also
Haven't you
had
enough?
Kelly Clarkson was there too. No one knows why she was there and gets to talk about things.
She never won a medal.
Well, Peyton Manning was there too.
And he never won a medal.
What?
What's going on?
I was sitting there going, Why did you pick them? Like, why did they get to pick? What
I'd
happened
like
to
Olympians to be there.
Yeah, people who actually were in any Olympic.
Yeah.
Like, bring Scott Hamilton in. The guy was in the Winter Olympics at least.
That's fine.
I would count that as opposed to one American Idol.
I found it interesting how many they picked Celine Dion and Lady Gaga for the opening ceremonies as opposed to a French celebrity.
Well, isn't Celine French?
Yeah.
Well, she's from Canada, so I guess there's that. But Lady Gaga is not.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know why she gave French vibes, but she is not French.
Yeah, she always gives French vibes, which is, I'm sorry if you're French, but a little weird.
I actually saw that she studied like French choreography, in preparation for this, which I thought was cool.
That's cool.
Good for her.
Well, we saw a lot of French choreography on that. It's a little avant-garde, as they say. 6:18, time for a quick break. Speaking of rankings, the fast food rankings are in.
Oh, my.
And there's been a controversy about the number one seat being totally upended.
Ladies, are you looking for spiritual encouragement? Moody Radio invites you to rejuvenate your faith and draw close to Jesus at Renew, the one-day conference for women, coming to Canton, Ohio, September 7th. Your spirit will be uplifted and your mind engaged as our keynote speakers share insights from God's Word that will inspire you to pursue godliness in your home, work, church, and community. You'll also spend time in worship with hundreds of godly women who, just like you, desire a deeper intimacy with Christ. Sign up today at moodyconferences.com/renew.
Moody Radio is on the air thanks to support of listeners and Hawkins Sales. They've been serving the electrical industry nationwide for over 30 years. More information about Hawkins Sales is at hawkinssales.com.
Pursue your passion for shepherding, teaching, and ministry leadership with a Master of Divinity from Moody Theological Seminary. And new for fall of 2025, you can earn the same world-class degree in a shorter amount of time. We've reduced the amount of credit hours to earn a degree. It's flexible, too. Take classes online, on campus at our Chicago or Michigan campuses, or interchange between all those options on a class-by-class basis. Get started today at moody.edu/MDiv.
Bringing Northeast Ohio and Western Pennsylvania closer to Christ, one conversation at a time. It's Mornings with Brian on Moody Radio, Cleveland.
Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. 103.3 at 6 to 9 a.m.
6:24. It's a new week here on Mornings with Brian, and we're going to be talking about the big Olympic Last Supper controversy from the opening ceremonies around 7 o'clock. We'll also, right after around 7 o'clock news and such, we will announce the keynote speaker for the Renew Women's Conference.
Ooh.
And you're going to be excited. You're going to be like, why didn't I buy a ticket yet? I should have bought one in anticipation of the keynote speaker.
Yeah, good thing they're still early bird.
Yeah, all the way through the rest of this month, which is, I don't know, like tomorrow. We have
Wednesday
early, Wednesday?
I think. I don't know.
20,
Yeah.
Something like that. But whatever. Throughout July, which is just a few days left, you can get some discounted tickets for the Renew Women's Conference. Again, the big event's happening on September 7th at Canton Baptist Temple. And you can get more information and your tickets by texting the word RENEW to 440-546-2255. RENEW to 440-546-2255. Well, the statistics are in. There's another competition that happens every year around this time. Every year. And it is USA Today's annual Reader's Choice Survey, where people are asked what their favorite fast food chain is.
Okay.
Do we have a favorite fast food chain? Like if you were going to go first blush.
We collectively or like
No,
we
individually. Lauren,
Okay.
first blush, favorite fast food, go.
McDonald's.
What do you get there? Go.
McChicken and fries.
Very,
and it gotta be a Coke.
I prefer High C Orange, but a Coke's a good choice.
Ooh,
I don't know why I
what?
like that. It reminds me of my childhood. They used to like give us that.
That's what-
they
that's how
donate
I-
it for field day.
Yeah, that's how I just feel about McDonald's in general. It's very nostalgic.
Oh, I got you. Okay, Daria, favorite fast food, go.
Chick-fil-A.
Okay, why? What do you get there? Go.
Nuggets and a lemonade.
The nuggies are so good. They're actual
good.
pieces of actually unprocessed
Actual
chicken.
not
Yes.
boots. Yeah.
I have no clue what goes into them. As much as they taste good, when these are McDonald's nuggies, I have no clue what I'm eating.
Slurry.
Basically.
Yeah. I mean, I like a good slurry now and again. A little dippity-doo there, you know. Okay, Ron, favorite fast food, go.
Burger King burgers. I like the flame broiled taste.
Very good.
And it's probably not a taste of flame broil. It's probably some liquid
Chemicals.
smoke or something they pour on it. And-
But
I
it
like
doesn't
the taste
matter.
of chemicals.
yeah.
A little MSG in there, maybe. Yeah.
Brian?
I have a lot of different likes. This is difficult. Like if I'm on the turnpike, I don't really have a choice.
Well, there's no options. It's
But
only.
I'm going to get the original chicken sandwich from Burger King. It's about as good as it gets. But my very favorite fast food restaurant is number 10 on the list this year from USA Today. We'll get to that in a
Number
moment.
10?
Yeah,
Goodness.
you can tell what's wrong with this list, everything. But Chick-fil-A has been atop the USA Today Reader's Choice Survey for nearly a decade.
Wow, that's surprising.
It was the number one choice for readers in USA Today
It's very
for
delicious.
like nearly a decade.
Yeah.
But things have been shaken up as if it were the Olympic Games and Russia was disqualified. So let's do the top 5, and
Okay.
we'll nudge the drummer for number 1. Number 5, Hardee's.
Wow.
Is Hardee's and Carl's Jr. the same?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
That's surprising. There's not even a ton of like locations that
No.
have those.
I wonder if it's Carl's Jr. Well, see, I feel like when I go, it's the same menu at Carl's Jr. I don't know why the West Coast can't handle the word Hardee's. And
They're functionally the same.
That seems to be.
I mean, I've only ever seen like 4 ever.
Carl's Jr.?
Both Hardee's or
Oh, yeah.
Carl's Jr.
Yeah, there aren't many. I don't. Maybe there's somewhere in the country where it's very big. It's not big here. I don't know where I could find a Hardee's if I wanted one.
I know one Route 3 and Interstate 76.
Okay.
There's one at that intersection, but that's the only one I know of.
And I think Hardee's is the one where when everybody else was like, wait, maybe we should stop supersizing. It's killing people. They're like, no, this is how we'll distinguish ourselves.
Make everything
You
big.
can get a quadruple burger. You know, you can get a super quadruple bacon and fat burger.
With extra fat.
Right? Aren't they? They're the ones who are like, we don't care about your health.
Well, the other ones don't either, but
They're pretending they do, though.
right.
Yeah.
Number 4 on the list of the Reader's Choice fast food joints, In-N-Out Burger.
Yes.
Yeah, that's pretty
heard
good.
they're good.
Understood.
West Coast only.
Yeah, they're good.
If you haven't been to one, it's West Coast, and you get very excited because you lift up the drink and you look in the seam underneath the disposable cup, and there's a Bible verse, and Christians just go, this is basically a Christian sandwich and burger, and like all of this is Christian.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, you can. At In-N-Out Burger, you lift it up, and there's like oh, look at that. And you know the little seam on the bottom of the cup? There's I don't know what the verse is, but it's something like, eat French fries and be merry or something.
For tomorrow you die.
Maybe later this afternoon after eating our food.
It's pretty. I mean, it's pretty good. Simple menu. That's what I like about it. There's not much thinking. Do you
Animal
want this
fries.
or this? It's like, do you want? That's it.
It's like 2 options. Yeah.
Yep. Number 3 on Reader's Choice USA Today, Chick-fil-A.
Okay.
Wow.
Yum.
Chick-fil-A
They
drops
drop.
2.
Yeah, they dropped.
Sad.
And it's been almost a decade. They were at number 1. Chick-fil-A number 3. I just get the regular one, the Chick-fil-A original.
That's a good choice.
Just the regular chicken sandwich.
Yep, it's like a number 1.
I like them.
Yeah.
I get that, and it's enjoyable. Number 2 on the list, Reader's Choice, KFC.
Really?
KFC.
Really? I hardly
This is
ever
very
eat there.
shocking.
I don't know anybody that eats there.
Extra tasty crispy, man. That's about as good as it gets right there. I don't know how they do that. Tried to do it at home. I can hardly get crispy.
Yeah.
And they get extra tasty crispy on there.
Is number 1, I want to guess it.
Go ahead.
Raising Cane's.
No.
Okay.
So Arby's?
No.
Oh.
That should be number 1. but it's not.
Swenson's?
That was, no. Swenson's didn't make the list. My number 1 is Arby's, but it was number 10 on the list.
I do like Arby's sometimes.
I do not.
The curly
They're
fries.
so expensive anymore.
Every
They are.
fast food place is so expensive.
But the curly fries are what do it for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Only
Yeah,
place
those
to
will
get
push you
good
over the
curly
edge.
fries. Yeah. By the way, number 9 was Zaxby's.
Oh, wow.
They're
I've
not.
never heard of it.
It's a southern
Are you
thing.
serious?
It's kind of like Cane's, but not as good.
You've
No.
never heard of Zaxby's?
No, I haven't.
Wow.
No. Never.
But it's in the South. Apparently. I don't spend
Yes.
much time south of the Mason-Dixon.
Okay.
I'm
Well,
a
it's
Yankee
there.
through and through, apparently. Yeah, so, no, do you have the drummer ready this morning?
Yes, he is.
Number 1, Reader's Choice, dethroned Chick-fil-A. It is Del Taco.
What?
Who's he?
Yes,
Who's
Del Taco.
he?
Del Taco. It's a West Coast thing. Because the West Coast party
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
stop, you know.
Yeah, I know that.
These
but-
nothing like
Californians
one.
need to get it together. So because some people in like on the West Coast like this restaurant, none of the rest of us have heard of. It's a thrown Chick-fil-A.
I mean, it's like a souped-up Taco Bell, I would imagine. It's
yes,
like
it is.
fast food, it's tacos. They put Del in front of it to make it sound more Latino in some way. Del Taco. It's number 1, baby.
I'm going to start an East Coast chain, La Taco.
El Taco.
La Taca.
I don't know quite how to feel about all this.
This is, I don't like this
I
list.
feel like it wasn't a good
outrage.
sample group.
It doesn't even have Wendy's or McDonald's, like the 2 big ones.
They must have exclusively interviewed West Coast people.
Yeah.
If 2 of the top restaurants are West Coast
That's
and aren't
true.
even in the rest of the country, that probability-wise, it makes no sense.
Well, it's
a
Reader's Choice.
Yeah, USA Today Reader's Choice. So who's reading USA Today? I'm not.
Not me.
It's big in California. Number 6 was Captain D's.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
a seafood place, right?
Uh-huh.
Is that South too?
No, I don't think so.
I should have thought.
Is he in Peninsula by chance?
Yeah. He owns the restaurant. He was going to work. He was frying his fish.
Number 7. It took me a minute. Now I get it. He is in Peninsula. Maybe that's the mascot. Wow, I didn't even think of that. All right, 6:32. We got to run. Maybe we'll go over the other parts of that list later this week. Maybe not. In just a minute, our good friends Joe and Cindy Ferrini join us. They want to talk about the blessing and the burden of money and how to deal with it in your marriage relationship.
I'm Joy Traxel, and this is Pause for Prayer. There is something very special about the ocean. I remember having that thought on a recent vacation at the beach. I've never heard anyone say that they felt stress sitting and watching the waves come in and out. But I once heard someone demonstrate the smallness of our lives now compared to eternity. It is like pouring a cup of coffee into that ocean. The small cup is our lives now, and the ocean is eternity. Big difference. When we can keep that perspective, it helps frame the worries of today. How glorious to cling to the fact that there are better and perfect days ahead. Let's pause and pray. Gracious and holy God, we come to you today with an expectation to hear from you and only you. We ask that your voice be the loudest and drown out the voices of the world and the enemy. Father, we begin by asking you for your forgiveness for the many ways we fail to follow you and take our eyes off of you. Oh God, help us do better. We even ask that you convict us when we begin to go in a direction that doesn't please you. God, redirect our paths. The world around us seems out of control and full of hard things. Could you help us have an eternal perspective and not become overwhelmed? God, we yearn for the day that we will be with you in a perfect place, where pain and sorrow doesn't exist. But until that day, we navigate this world knowing that you are all that we need, and we take comfort in knowing that you are near and that you never forsake us. Father, would you bring those into our past that have not heard the good news of you and what you did for us? God, give us the words to say and give them open ears to hear. We ask that not only our words reveal who you are, but that our actions point them to you as well. We have no words to properly describe what awaits for us in heaven. So God, we ask this all in the name of the one that has prepared that place. Amen.
Prayer works. The late Bible teacher and author, Dr. Warren Wiersbe.
The spiritually minded believer will reveal his spirituality by the way he responds to a brother who falls. Father, we get self-centered, critical, judgmental. We forget that we've been called to be witnesses, and we start acting like prosecuting attorneys. Forgive us. And help us to minister to one another in the marvelous ministry of restoration. Oh, even today, Father, help us to set some broken bones, to equip some soldiers, to outfit some ships, to mend some nets, to the strengthening of your work. For Jesus' sake, amen.
Why does prayer matter? Learn more at moodyradio.org/prayer.
Mornings with Brian on Moody Radio Cleveland from 6 to 9 a.m. Get your coffee in hand. Let's start the day.
6:36. Remember, coming up after the 7 o'clock news here from Ron, we're going to not only announce the winner, not the winner, the keynote speaker, who I guess won the spot of keynote speaker. Yes, we all will be winners of whoever this person is because we get to receive their teaching. We'll announce the keynote speaker for Renew in a few minutes. Text Renew to 440-546-2255 for more information. Text Renew to 440-546-2255. We'll also talk about the big Last Supper opening ceremony Olympic controversy starting at 7 o'clock. So stay tuned for that. But for now, Joe and Cindi Ferrini, they speak and have spoken nationally for Family Life's Weekend to Remember Getaway. They've been doing Pause for Prayer and My Marriage Matters for many, many years. Welcome back, you two.
Thank you. Good morning.
Morning. So you want to talk about the blessing and the burden of money, because I'd imagine you hear about money being a source of conflict in marriage all the time.
Yes, absolutely. It's one of the top ones. And, it really can affect your marriage. We've shared this, of course, before, probably many times here, but when Joe and I were dating and then got engaged, we began to talk about, future things, and money was one of them. And he informed me that we would be doing a budget.
How did you feel about that?
Well, I was sort of like surprised because I was the teacher, so I wasn't making like big money or anything like that. But I gave 10% for my tithe. I saved 10%, and I felt like the rest was discretionary income. And so
he's laughing.
That's why we needed a budget. Right
that's why we needed a budget.
I mean, Cindy, it sounded good to me. I like the idea.
I thought it was good. And I had a car payment and I had a rent payment. I always made those. I was never, ever, ever in debt. So I felt like I had a good handle on my money situation.
And you had a lot of fun, I would imagine.
Well, I did. And I enjoy sewing. And so every week I would go out and buy a new pattern and a new fabric, and I'd have a new outfit for Sunday. That's what my roommate and I would do. We'd sew all weekend, and we'd have a new outfit for Sunday. It just was fun for us. And at that time, sewing and patterns and all that they weren't expensive. Now it doesn't save you any money to do any sewing, really. But, we were not in debt. And so when Joe suggested that, I really kind of panicked. But first of all, when he wanted to combine our two savings, it was pretty funny because he was just starting out in dentistry and I was just starting out in teaching. I'd been teaching a little while, but, we didn't have very much money. So in my thinking, I know he's going to be the head of the family and I'm going to take his lead on this. And so, basically in my heart, my question was like, what would you have me to do? And then I had asked that of the Lord as well. And I'll tell you, if he hadn't, and he really did a lot of his own homework. He used to spend one night a week just learning things about investing and all that sort of thing because he never learned it. He went to dental school, not business. And so, he really put us on a good track to be able to save, to be able to be prepared for retirement because, he wasn't part of a big company that puts, gives you a 401k and sets you up for retirement. So I'm very appreciative, and I like to share that story because I think a lot of people, husbands or wives, can have a lot of pushback. If you're the spender, which I am, if you are the spender, you feel like the world has, come down on you.
Oh, yeah.
And so when you have someone in the relationship who's willing to, sort of set you up and get you started in the right direction, for us, for me, it really was the right thing. And I don't, I always say too, like I used to give him all the receipts. And so as we went through our marriage, it got to be where I'd be like, here's the pencil receipt. Here's the gum receipt. I was like, oh, brother, But I wanted him to know, like, the checkbook is an open thing. Here's my credit card. See what I bought. I'm not hiding anything. However, there came a point way, way down the road from the first story that I told you that we didn't have to do that anymore. And so I'm grateful that Joe took the lead on that. So I want to encourage people out there, if money has become the burden rather than the blessing, learn what you can about it, invest as you're able, and then, really, honestly, I think this is one area of our marriage that we've probably had the least challenge.
Well, and
I think
it's been a really stressful season for a lot of folks with inflation. So I'd imagine this is a big issue today for lots of people listening.
Oh, totally, absolutely. This is one of those matters that we have to take really into serious consideration when it comes to having a healthy, balanced marriage relationship. And the primary reason for that, of course, is that one of the leading causes for divorce today is because of a lack of communication regarding finances. And we can cite some statistics for you, and one of them being 50% of new marriages end in divorce lists money problems as being the number one problem for the breakup. And so, because my marriage matters, a discussion regarding the blessing and burden of money is really critically important to have. And I'm thankful for Cindy. She's a very good shopper. She's always looking for the best deals, and I don't like shopping, so that's a good, that's a win-win for us, and so that works out really well.
Now, as I understand it, you all heard a pretty good question asked on a Moody Radio program recently.
Yes, I happen to be listening to Faith and Finance. It's on at 4 o'clock in our local stations here, Rob West, and that's when I'm starting to make dinner, so I listen most every day. So I'm really learning a lot from him, but those are also the things that really I learned from Joe and through different, things that we've done over the course of time. But there was a great call-in question, and the couple was talking about how they were able to put money aside for future things like a house, for their kids' college and things like that, but they were having a harder time making ends meet today. And you brought this up, and I think it's really a good thing to talk about right now, and that is the inflation that we have right now. When I grocery shop, and there's just 3 of us in the family now, Joe, Joey, and myself, I'm just amazed at how expensive it is. And we don't really eat that much. It's not like we eat snacks all day and just everything that's expensive, is on our shelves. I'm seeing the difference. And so I can recognize the importance for young couples to really take this question, this thought, into consideration. So one of the thoughts that, a couple things that actually he said too, was just the importance of budgeting, as I said at the very beginning here. And then when you're spending, really trying to find ways, where are there ways that I can decrease my spending so that the bills aren't so high? I loved the heart of what he said, which was, now is a hard time to do that. But I'm telling you, I know in all of our budgets, there are things that we can say I don't need. Maybe it's a thing that you bought that was just like, oh, isn't this cute or isn't this fun? And if money is an issue for you, that's the thing that you don't buy right now.
Mm-hmm.
And really, there's just a reevaluation of what's the current situation you're in. Are you able to save? Do you have anything in your checking account? What are you spending on your credit cards? That probably is the big one because it's so easy to use it. And then at the end of the month when it comes, you're shocked.
Let's hit pause real quick here. It's 6:45 on WCRF's Mornings with Brian. Our guests are Joe and Cindy Ferrini with My Marriage Matters. They're talking about money in a marriage relationship. And there was actually a great call recently on Faith and Finance live here on WCRF with Rob West, where a couple's trying to do their best to set aside money for the future and for things like that, but they're having trouble making ends meet while doing it. So what can they do? We'll hear more about what Rob suggested as well as what Joe and Cindy think here in just a minute.
Moody Radio is thankful for listeners and support from businesses like Duma Meats and Farm Market. Duma Meats and Farm Market supporting Moody Radio in Cleveland and surrounding areas. More information about Duma Meats and Farm Market is at dumameats.com.
It's not insurance, and that's a new way of thinking for some families. Christian Healthcare Ministries is a credible way to meet family healthcare costs affordably, biblically, and effectively, whether starting or growing your family. Serving families as a nonprofit healthcare sharing ministry for over 40 years, CHM has offered families the freedom to choose how they would like to meet healthcare costs. Be pleasantly surprised and find answers to your questions at chministries.org/Moody. That's chministries.org/Moody.
We're halfway through 2024. We've studied the first half of the book of Genesis with Today in the Word's devotional author, Ryan Cook. And now for July, Dr. Cook returns with the second half of Genesis. Follow the lives of Isaac, Jacob, and Joseph. We'll read stories of deceit, violence, and false accusations and see firsthand how God keeps his promises. To join the Genesis study, download our free Today in the Word app or go to todayintheword.com.
Moody students don't just learn the Bible, they touch the world. Faculty member Bill Thrasher says these students are
working with individuals that no one else wants to do with, full of addictions and other things that have no hope. But to see our students touching people, it's just a great privilege to be able to build in these students that God sends into the harvest. Why don't you get involved right now in sending one that will reach many?
Visit moodyradio.org/Cleveland.
It's a no negativity zone on Moody Radio Cleveland and Mornings with Brian.
Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. 103.3 at 6 to 9 a.m.
WCRF, Mornings with Brian. Again, we'll announce the keynote speaker for our Renew Women's Conference coming up after Ron's 7 o'clock news, so in about 15 minutes here. Plus, we'll talk about the big opening ceremony controversy that many Christians have been talking about over the weekend. We'll do that as well. But for now, on with us, our good friends Joe and Cindy Ferrini with their regular My Marriage Matters segment. They're chatting really about something they heard on Faith and Finance with Rob West here on WCRF at 4 p.m. weekdays. They heard a call in from a young couple who's putting aside money for the future, things like house, college, for kids, things like that. But they're struggling to make ends meet in the midst of inflation. And so Rob had some ideas. I know you shared one. Was there other stuff that Rob had suggested they do?
Yeah, I really liked this wasn't his wording exactly, but it had to do with, as I mentioned a minute ago, setting a budget and really looking at where can you trim things so that you do have more, more money within your availability to spend it, maybe for the current, But then he said, the budget becomes your boundary and boundaries become the guardrails. And I really liked that because I thought, it's so easy. We see something, we want something, we buy something, we use our credit card, and then when it comes, we're just shocked at how much money. And then we have, a lot of people have to, put it on payments. And of course, we all know when you put it on payments, you're looking at sometimes 20, 25% interest rates, which are outrageous. So whatever you just bought, you paid an awful lot more for. So I really liked that he encouraged this younger couple to do that. But also, one of the things that I thought was really important was, and this kind of goes back even to COVID, I remember saying to Joe, we weren't going anywhere, we weren't spending money on anything. I didn't go and buy an extra pair of shoes or a new outfit. And, as you would always say, well, don't forget to buy the golf clubs or tools, Yeah. Nobody, neither one of us were buying anything extra. And in my head, I kind of laughed. I thought, well, this is so unrealistic. We could never make a budget like this with COVID. But then I thought, wait a minute, that is actually the best way to do it because it's all stuff you don't need anyway. And a lot of people go out to eat a lot, and buying food that you make at home versus what you pay when you go to a restaurant is probably 3 times as much. So some of the things that he mentioned and some of the things that I'm recalling even from COVID, I thought to myself, if we really took everything down to sort of the very minimum, there's a lot of fluff in the stuff that we buy. And so you really have to take, and it's hard, but you have to take a really hard look at all those extra things that probably aren't necessary.
Yeah. And I would imagine you two have some more advice as well. I mean, Joe, what would you say to this couple?
Well, the key thing here is communication, as is the case in every situation of our marriage. But these discussions will be among, the most difficult discussions that you're going to have in your marriage. But they are necessary to have. I mean, it could be that, one spouse has really good intentions about, they want to retire, comfortably. And so they take away from existing needs, right? And yet, on the other hand, the other spouse is thinking more in terms of, well, I'd like to have this now and that now. And so it's just one of those situations where you just need to come together and have a good understanding as to what are the priorities in your marriage at this time. And I think it as is the case in everything, it's just communication is the key to really, moving forward in the right direction in this area of your life. And for me personally, I mean, I'm one of those guys that I'm always looking at, well, what's my motivation? Why in the world would I want to cut back on doing certain things? And for me, I'm always going back to just trying to gain a better biblical perspective on what does the Bible say about money. And as I understand it, I mean, there's only 2 foundational truths when it comes to money. And that is, number 1, God owns everything. And 2, if God owns everything, we're not the owners. And so we better be good stewards of those resources. And so if you can have that type of discussion, and what does that mean to be a good steward in your marriage relationship, I think that goes really far in coming to a good common ground understanding as to where we need to be going with our finances.
Yeah, if I could add too, I think, what a good conversation to have is what do you look at as success in your marriage when it comes to money? And I think for us, we've always said we want to be faithful in everything that God entrusts to us, but with money especially. You know, He's going to be in charge of the outcome of it ultimately. And where we are right now culturally in our nation, probably in the world with inflation and things like that, we just have to be better stewards. Is it easy? No. But you know, if you check with other people, ask your friends, you know, how are you making ends meet? You might get some really good ideas. And they may apply to you and they may not apply to you, but it's worth trying. And I really feel like if you are taking money and that becomes what's going to ruin your marriage, I just want you to know you can make it work. It's not necessarily easy, but you can make it work. And you have to, you know, have a good conversation with each other. Generally, one person is the spender and one is the saver. Definitely, I'm the spender. Joe is the saver. And so we've had to really come to some mutual understandings of what we want in our marriage. Just as an example, so many young people have traveled so much more than I ever did at the ages that they are. But I remember when we were a young couple, I did not go back to work as a teacher, and I'm thankful I didn't have to because our son Joey needed so many therapies and things like that. I don't know who else would have taken him and been able to come home and do the things for him and with him that we were able to do. But I remember saying to Joe, you know, so-and-so's going here and so-and-so's going there. That's before social media, you know. Mm-hmm. And I remember saying, like, I would like to just see Ohio with our kids. And so we made it a point to see every state park. That was a whole lot less expensive than saying, well, we're going to go to Europe for our trip. Now, even if you can spend the money and go to Europe, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with doing it. The question is, if you can't, why are you trying to add that? Or to Disney or different places that are very expensive? Maybe just make sure you can put aside and save for it rather than just put it on your credit card. So there's, you know, we're not financial people. You have David Safransky on Thursdays and he gives you great ideas. Listen then. But the practicality of things is you have to work at it and you have to often give up things. And that's hard, but it's also necessary. And then you see the fruit of it when you have done that.
Yeah, I think, you know, setting up a budget will really allow us to have a better handle, better control in our finances, and really a well-constructed budget will help us to stay out of debt. And then, you know, the hard part, of course, is just sticking with the budget. And it's great to have some motivation behind you to do that. I just had a great conversation with a couple of my friends who are now we're all retired, and we asked pretty open questions about, you know, so how are you putting up with the new laws that are coming through, and each of us had a different approach to doing saving and, you know, providing for the future. It was just interesting that there was no one set way that you have to do this thing, and it's just the matter of doing what's right for you and making sure that you are in alignment with what what you can do. And so I found that really refreshing. It was quite eye-opening to realize that we are so diverse in what we think is the right way to go about doing something, but it's different for each of us. And so you need to find out what's right for you guys and then adjust, you know, to a lifestyle that you can afford. So
excellent advice yet again this week from Joe and Cindy Ferrini with My Marriage Matters. If folks want to learn more about this or catch up with you, how can they get more information?
Well, we'd love to have them come to My Marriage Matters on Facebook or joeferrini.com or cindyferrini.com at our website. And that's where this will air probably in the next day or so.
Thanks so much to both of you. Always enjoy our time with you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You bet. Bye-bye now. Ron, are you the saver or the spender? You're the saver, aren't you?
I'm the saver, yeah.
Yeah. Dan is the spender?
Yes.
So then who wins most of the arguments?
Who do you think?
Dana?
Yes, she does.
I love it.
Yeah. I'm not confrontational either, so I keep saying in my head, we need to plan a budget. You know, we need to, you know, do this, that. We need to be ready. If I ever want to retire and it looks like I'm never going to retire. So there goes that.
That's great stuff. All right, Ron's got his news all ready to go for you here in just a moment. When we come back from that, we're going to announce the keynote speaker for Renew Women's Conference. Again, the big event at Canton Baptist Temple on September 7th. Text RENEW for more information to 440-546-2255. And after we make that major announcement, we will talk about the big opening ceremony controversy where lots of believers around the world thought that we were being mocked as Christians by a weird, straight up weird depiction of what some feel is the Last Supper. We'll talk about that as a team and how Christians ought to process it.
Mornings with Brian on Moody Radio Cleveland, WCRF Cleveland, WVMS Sandusky, WVML Millersburg, WVMN Newcastle, WVME Meadville, WVMU Ashtabula, and everywhere with the Moody Radio app or at moodyradio.org/Cleveland.
Israel is retaliating after a Hezbollah rocket attack killed 12 children in the Israeli-occupied Golan Heights. It's 7:02. I'm Ron Eastwood, Moody Radio News. Israeli warplanes carried out airstrikes against targets inside Lebanon and along the border this weekend. Israel's military blamed Saturday's rocket attacks on the Iran-backed militant group. For its part, Hezbollah denied the claim. A Sunday morning fire at a metal company in Elyria reportedly left behind about $100,000 worth of damage. No one was hurt in the fire at Ohio Metallurgical Company. There has been no word on the cause of the blaze. And it is now less than 100 days until Americans go to the polls to select a new president. Ohio Secretary of State Frank LaRose says Ohioans who are eligible to vote should check with their county boards of election or visit voteohio.gov to find their polling location, voting hours, and other necessary information. Early in-person voting begins on October 8th, and November 5th is Election Day. Sports and weather coming right up.
Moody Radio is on the air thanks to support from our listeners and businesses like Fellowship Home Loans. They'll talk about the numbers as well as your hopes, dreams, and the market's reality. Home is where the heart is. It's where families grow and where dreams are born. More information is at 800-804-7283. That's 800-804-SAVE or fellowshiphomeloans.com. Welcome home.
In sports, the Guardians edged the Phillies 4-3. The Pirates edged the Diamondbacks 6-5 in extra innings. And the U.S. heads into the third full day of Olympic competition at the top of the medal standings. Team USA has won a total of 12 medals, including 3 golds, 6 silver, and 3 bronze. France is second with 8 total medals, followed by Japan with 7. Here's your Moody Radio Cleveland forecast. Partly sunny with a chance of showers and thunderstorms this morning. Then, as the day goes on, it'll become mostly cloudy with showers and thunderstorms likely in the afternoon. Our highs are going to be in the lower 80s. Currently mostly cloudy, and it's now 72 in Cleveland. Akron and Canton, mostly cloudy and 70. And in Ashtabula, we have clear skies, but just 64 degrees.
It's time for your moron moment.
You don't have to be Italian or a fat orange cartoon cat to celebrate National Lasagna Day on July 29th. Tomato sauce, cheeses, meat, and sometimes vegetables, they're all separated then by wide, flat noodles. What's not to love? Lasagna first showed up in Naples, Italy during the Middle Ages and made it to America in the 19th century. And since then, Americans have made it all their own. And I do love lasagna. And that's your Moron Moment. And you'll find that on our Facebook and Instagram. It's 7:05 with Moody Radio News. I'm Ron Eastwood.
Broadcasting live from the Bob Devine Studio. It's Mornings with Brian. Want to join the conversation? Call or text now at 440-546-2255. It's Mornings with Brian on Moody Radio Cleveland.
with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. 103.3 at 6 to 9 a.m.
Matthew West, WCRF 701. We're going to talk about the Olympic opening ceremony in just a moment, but first we have a major announcement. We've already told you about our previous speakers for the Renew Women's Conference, which is September 7th at Canton Baptist Temple. We're going to have Taylor James, the Children's Ministry Director from New Community Bible Fellowship, and Glenna Marshall. She's an author, speaker, pastor's wife. She's going to be speaking. But as well, we have a keynote speaker who will be announced for the very first time in just a moment when the drummer finishes his drum roll. It's very... You can still go. Okay. Julie Slattery! Dr. Julie Slattery! For the very first time, speaking at Renew. She's the keynote speaker. You know her from Authentic Intimacy. She's on the board of trustees. Whoa! At Moody Bible Institute. And she's, you know, a speaker, author, all the things. She's got the
does it all.
Job with Julie podcast. Dr. Julie Slattery will be our keynote speaker. You're not going to want to miss this. For more information, text the word RENEW to 440-546-2255. Text RENEW 440-546-2255. Again, the big event at Canton Baptist Temple, September 7th. And you can get discounted early bird tickets through the end of this month, which ends in like a couple of days.
Mm-hmm.
Once it hits August, it's full price, baby. Too bad for you. Sorry. I just called a bunch of ladies baby. Sorry about that. Nobody puts baby in the corner. How about that?
Yeah, that's
now you feel better. All right, so let's shift gears. I would love your input on this because Christians are very upset. There are many Christians across the interwebs and the world who are dramatically upset about the opening ceremonies at the Olympic Games in Paris, France. So what we're going to do is we're going to chat about the controversy itself, and we're also going to figure out how Christians ought to respond to the controversy and just some more meta ideas for Christians, thinking about how we think, okay? So, first of all, what happened? Like, Daria was under a rock the whole weekend. Hopefully she's okay.
I was unpacking and cleaning my new house.
She was under a box.
Yeah, you were very
I was
busy.
under a box, yeah.
You were very busy. We watched parts of the opening ceremonies. It was a 4-hour ceremony. It kicked off the Summer Games, and the athletes were gliding down the Seine River in Paris, France, on different boats. It was kind of neat. I liked the part about, all the boats was kind of cool, and like LeBron James waving the big flag. There were some interesting things, fun things. The torch floated up on some big balloon. How cool is that?
that was pretty cool.
But that's not what people are talking about. In one scene from the opening ceremonies, here's how Today.com puts it. A dinner platter lifted to show a naked person painted blue and sparkling, singing in French. I'm not making that up.
Okay.
In the background of this blue person is dancers and drag queens striking poses along a long table. So you have blue man basically wearing no clothes. Sounds weird because much of the interlude parts of the opening ceremony were like super weird.
A lot of weird stuff.
I mean, objectively weird, not like, oh, Brian is just very fuddy-duddy. No, what is that? It was a lot of... Okay, and so then panning through the tableau...
The table?
Yeah, every article I find, they're calling this a Tableau. I looked it up.
Tableau.
Well, I think that's the French pronunciation, but I looked it up online. It's tableau. No. Or tableau. No. It's a table.
Mm-hmm.
So panning through the table, a camera first showed a person crowned in the front of DJ turntables. Then the shot showed the rest of the table lined with performers holding their poses. Like holding it, real still. Then the table transformed into a catwalk as drag queens and models took the stage in homage to Paris fashion scene. And I joked with my kids. I was like, oh, Sophia, is that your first day of school outfit? Is it just the most outrageous thing you've ever seen that no human would really wear? Some connected the table, here's the controversy, to the biblical scene from Leonardo da Vinci's portrayal of the Last Supper. Everyone's seen this painting. If you haven't, you were under an even larger rock. Yeah, we don't know where you were. And so the official X account for the Olympic Games shared photos of the moment and referenced the Greek god Dionysus, not the Last Supper. Now, Dionysus, for those who don't know, is the Greek god of winemaking, fertility, festivity, insanity.
Wow, he's got a lot of roles.
Ritual madness, which was my favorite.
Wow. Didn't know they had a ritual for it.
But generally, he's known for like the god of partying and wine, Dionysus. Okay. That's what they said it was. But Christians around the world were like, I see what you're doing here. I mean, you had French Catholics, you had the Roman Catholic Church as a whole, you had politicians and Christians across American evangelicalism. I saw Andy Stanley was upset. Lots of people are upset, saying, oh my goodness, you are mocking the Lord's Supper, the Eucharist, communion, and a major historical event for Christians with a bunch of drag queens and a naked blue guy. How dare you insult us? I can't believe you've done this. And so when asked about the backlash, the artistic director of the opening ceremonies, Thomas Jolly, said at a press conference, he did not intend to be subversive, mock, or shock. He said, quote, we wanted to include everyone, as simple as that. In France, we have freedom of creation, artistic freedom. We're lucky in France to live in a free country. I didn't have any specific messages that I wanted to deliver. In France, we are a republic We have the right to love whom we want. We have the right not to be worshipers. We have a right. We have a lot of rights in France, and this is what I wanted to convey, which was a very nonsensical statement.
That's not really an answer to the question.
That's a dodge.
And then somebody else, Anne Decamp, she's the spokesperson for the Paris 2024 Games. She said, clearly there was never an intention to show disrespect to any religious group in the opening ceremony tied to celebrate community tolerance. She said, we believe this ambition was achieved. If people have taken any offense, we are really sorry. So do we buy it? Are they mocking us? And do we buy the apology, the explanation? What do we do with all this as believers? We're going to talk about that after a quick break. But you're welcome to weigh in by call or text 440-546-2255.
Moody Radio is thankful for listeners and support from businesses like Duma Meats and Farm Market. Duma Meats and Farm Market, supporting Moody Radio in Cleveland and surrounding areas. More information about Duma Meats and Farm Market is at dumameats.com.
Her name is Jenny, and maybe like you, she and her husband got tired of their health care getting more and more expensive, so they did it. They went with MediShare.
We signed on with MediShare in March, had a really great experience. It was super easy to get going with them. And then in October of that same year, we found out that I had stage 3 breast cancer.
We were put at ease with MediShare, guiding us and walking with us and saying that they were going to be praying for us.
It's very intentional how they try to bless people when they know this is one of the hardest things that they're going through.
They and their 4 kids thank the Lord, not only for her healing and how he provided for them, but she says it makes her emotional just realizing how she gets to pay it forward.
What we put towards MediShare is going to be blessing another mom, and they're going to show up for her the way that they showed up for me.
You save a lot, and you're part of something really, really good. Call now. It's 877-58-BIBLE. That's 877-58-BIBLE. 877-58-BIBLE.
For some women, this struggle is very real.
Would anyone love me if they knew? Will I ever be free from porn?
First, you're not alone in this. And second, freedom is possible. Dr. Julie Slattery and Dr. Joyce Karka have written a new 8-week book and workbook called Her Freedom Journey, a beautiful blend of research, biblical truth, and very personal stories. Find Her Freedom Journey today at moodybooks.org.
Keeping your eyes on Jesus in a changing culture can be difficult. Let us help. It's Mornings with Brian on Moody Radio, Cleveland.
7:18, the Olympics are underway, but the big talk over the weekend, everywhere on the internet across the world, was one scene from a 4-hour opening ceremony where a guy painted blue and looking all weird and gross, apparently representing the Greek god Dionysus, was standing in front of a group of people and like drag queens, and a bunch of Christians all decided that it looked just like a painting of the Last Supper. As a result, they're mocking us.
I don't know which version of the Last Supper these people are looking at.
Well, what specifically, it has a resemblance to Leonardo da Vinci's Last Supper painting. There is a resemblance when you see it side by side. So the first question that we have to answer is, were they mocking us? What they, as in the opening ceremony Olympic designers in Paris, France. Mm-hmm. They got the world stage, and somebody back there was like, Christians, let's make fun of them.
I don't think that's the case. If you use Occam's razor, I think that the simplest solution is most likely the true one. Mm-hmm. Then no, it wouldn't make sense, because you're taking credit or blame for however this turns out. So if you do something that's going to outrage 30% of the world, it's going to reflect poorly on you, and you'll be the jerk who designed the Paris Olympics.
Now, I mean, when you look at the side-by-side, though, Ron, it's a bunch of drag queens, and there's the numbers don't quite add up. There's 12, including Jesus. So it's not exactly the same number.
I didn't watch it live. I've only looked at a few pictures. Some, like if you get the right shot, it does look pretty similar. But like you say, the poses aren't the same. The number of people aren't the same. And there's other pictures where it totally looks different. I mean, there's still a bunch of people lined up on one side of a table. So it's got that going for it. But other than that, it looks very different.
Well, and then you have, I've seen a number of explanations on the internet, right? Like some people say, well, how could it be at the Last Supper? Da Vinci was Italian. This is French. And they're celebrating French culture. So he's Italian. The painting itself, the Last Supper, is on a wall in like a cathedral in Milan.
It's not in, like at the Louvre or anything like that?
No.
Oh.
At the same time, on the other end of things, Leonardo da Vinci was hired by the French king, and he spent the finish of his life. He spent years living in France and died there and wanted his body buried there. And then you also have another explanation I've seen, that there's a Dutch painter that made a painting called The Feast of the Gods.
Okay.
That looks just like this as well. And in this Dutch painting, Dionysus is in it, and a bunch of other people, a bunch of other Greek gods represented. And that actually hangs in Dijon, France, in the Musée Marny or whatever. So this, like, another explanation could be they were actually depicting a scene of Greek gods because this is the Olympics.
Right.
And that was originally Greek.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't condone the weird nudity in here. I think it's disgusting. I don't know why we did that. But at the same time, the original Greek games, people competed naked. So I'm not saying we should celebrate that today. But at the same time, there is, I think, an equally plausible explanation.
More plausible.
You're saying more plausible.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
That it was a depiction of a group of Greek gods somehow that are actually drag queens.
Yeah, I don't care for that part.
I mean, the Greek gods were a very debaucherous group of people.
Mm-hmm.
It was weird. I mean, how slice is
no,
super weird.
It is really weird. I don't know. You said something interesting off the air, Brian, in that you don't think that non-Christians think about us that much. And I do think that's true. I think maybe we're giving a little bit too much credit. I think there is an equal chance that it was intended to mock us as well as being completely coincidental. And I don't know if we'll ever know the truth.
No, I don't think we will ever know. Because, I mean, you can't really, there's no way to resolve the debate on whether or not they were mocking us. But this is the debate that's been happening. It's, half the internet saying, look at these horrible French people making fun of Christians in a very sacrilegious and offensive way. And other people going, would you Christians calm down? It's not about you. Who is it about? I don't know. They said, the Olympic officials said it wasn't about us. They could be lying because people are liars.
Could be.
And again, I cannot emphasize the weirdness level. Lauren.
All of it was very odd.
Like, did you see any outfits on the catwalk after the Last Supper thing where you're like, I think I'm going to buy that?
Sensible. No, I did not. No.
I mean, they could have been making fun of the Smurfs that guy painted blue.
Yeah, it's possible.
How dare you? I love the Smurfs. They're funny.
La, 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 la.
So, okay. We can't know for sure if they were mocking us. What are we seeing on text, Lauren?
I took a look at what you guys are discussing, and I just don't see it. I wanted to see something offensive, but really I didn't. When I say offensive, I mean I don't think that they were mocking our faith. I don't think even the Christians were on their radar. I think they were just trying to be artistic and things like that.
Yeah, and artistic French people are, God bless you if you're artistic in French, but a little out there. I mean, not going to be conservative rural America.
Mm-hmm.
This is weird.
Yeah, but you watch any fashion show, New York, Paris, any of the major cities, the clothes that the girls are wearing are out there as well and not going to be seen on the racks at Kohl's anytime soon.
Right. What else are you seeing, Lauren, by text?
How did no one notice that it was so close to the Last Supper? I feel like the artistic team probably could have made different choices. If everyone saw it, how could they have missed it? I'm not outraged. If they meant to offend, I'm not surprised because this sort of thing will continue to happen. God promised us suffering, the world being the world. Oh no.
I mean, how did people not notice? I don't know. I mean, if there were a bunch of drag queens, let's just presume, let's say all of them are atheists. I don't think they think about the Last Supper ever.
Right. It's something we would notice because it's more in our realm of common knowledge. they were probably more likely to see that Feast of Bacchus picture in their head.
Yeah, I mean, I could ask a differing question. I could say, for all of you listening right now, when's the last time you thought about each of the 5 pillars of Islam?
Mm-hmm.
Or where Muhammad supposedly got the revelation of the Quran? When's the last time you thought about that? Probably never.
Yeah, unless you're a Christian or a fine art scholar, you probably are not all that familiar with the Last Supper in the year 2024. Let's just be honest.
Sure.
Someone said if it was not a depiction of the Last Supper, you guys have already agreed that it very much can resemble the depiction.
Yeah, it
And
could.
in a world where Christians are hypersensitive to defend Jesus because of what goes on around us every day, can you actually blame anyone? I mean, really blame anybody for the reaction that they're having?
No, I don't. And here's the interesting thing. Like, we're just having a discussion about this out loud, and I'm so glad we're getting text messages. And you're welcome to call, too, 440-546-2255. We're trying to process this out loud from a biblical perspective. So am I surprised? Absolutely not. Is anyone else surprised that people were offended by this?
No.
Mm-mm.
I mean, we are in an era where America's changing rapidly, the world is changing rapidly, and Christians are being persecuted. And Christian morality is increasingly unpopular in American society. And so there's a part where we're all a little hyper-vigilant, looking around for someone coming after us, aren't we? And I am in some ways. You guys, I mean, some of you may not be hyper-vigilant, but I can see why people are.
Yeah. Yeah, if you're on Facebook at all, you see those theories. I don't want to call them conspiracy theories, but they're theories. There may be some truth to them about, people coming after your faith. And there was a Visa commercial several years back now about, putting a chip on your hand and using that instead of a card. Obviously, they immediately backed off on that ad, but it was like, whoa, that is eerily close to the book of Revelation.
Yeah, and yet, again, we know a lot about Christian faith because we're Christians.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll never forget how shocked I was when I was teaching 9th grade geography all those years ago, when I had a number of students who were totally clueless about anything about Christianity.
Yeah.
This one girl in the front row, so like, why do you guys celebrate a cross? It's like, didn't Jesus die on one? Why do you all wear one? That's weird.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, what? You don't know? Of course she doesn't know. It
Right.
wasn't her context.
Mm-hmm.
And to Daria's point earlier, I do think we have this tendency to believe in life that everyone's thinking and talking about us. Like, I've had situations where I remember one in particular, someone called me up and they said, Brian, I just want you to know I forgive you. And I was like, what? Well, you hurt me. I worked through it, and then I forgave you. I hurt you? What did I do? And then they said it, and I'm like, oh, I don't really remember that. I mean, this person thought I was thinking about them, and they were consumed by it for weeks, and I didn't think about it at all.
Yeah, some offhand comment you made that struck them deeply.
Now, if I'm the artistic director for the opening ceremonies for the Olympic Games, and the whole world's going to watch what I'm doing, how high on the list would be offending Christians? As opposed to, we got to get this in, we got to have the cameras, we got to have the people in their places at the right time, we got to have the timing, the makeup,
Right. Unless he particularly had an axe to grind against Christianity where he designed it that way from the start, it's probably not likely.
Yeah, I remember I had students who were convinced that I spent most of my time thinking about how to pick on them.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, they're like, oh, you're picking on me again. No, I don't think about you outside of this class. I have a family and other students. But every student was convinced that I had them in my mind when I did something. Ha-ha, I will get you now as a teacher. Ha ha ha. But okay, let's just say that some of our cautions on this are totally wrong. Let's just say that it's a conspiracy behind the scenes of Olympic officials in France and on the International Olympic Committee to mock Christians. Let's just say that's 100% what happened. The question that's most important in all this, which we'll get to in a minute, is how do Christians respond in that circumstance? What does the Bible teach us about how we're to behave when someone mocks us or does something that's very offensive to us as believers? I think the Bible says a lot about that. So let's examine how we should respond if this were true. And it may be that we were intentionally mocked in the opening ceremonies.
Just when it seems like you've connected with God's power in one area of life, something goes wrong in another. But Dr. Tony Evans says God still has you covered. He'll explain today as we spend 2 minutes with Tony.
Some of you have in your home, like I do in mine, power strips. Okay, so you may have 2 sockets on the wall, put a power strip, that gives you 6 more locations to plug in 6 more new things. In other words, this one thing allows you to expand it to other things so that you can deal with multiple appliances at the very same time. In 2 Corinthians chapter 7, the Apostle Paul is speaking. He is dealing with what he calls in verse 7, a thorn in the flesh. He says, grace is so potent, grace is so powerful, grace is so comprehensive, there is no situation grace cannot and does not address. He says it is sufficient. If you got multiple challenges, God has power strips so that he can handle each one of those things by grace. Why? Because he says in verse 9, my grace is sufficient, for power is perfected in weakness. Most gladly, therefore, shall I boast about my weaknesses, so that the power of Christ may dwell in me. Guess what grace has? Power. It has power strips. Divine provision that comes with grace.
Learn more about how the Lord's power changes us from the inside out. Check out Tony's CD series, The Magnificent Grace of God, available online at tonyevans.org. Then join us next time for 2 Minutes with Tony.
Don't miss out on the Renew Early Bird Special, ladies. You have through Wednesday, July 31st to get special pricing for in-person or online attendance. Renew is Saturday, September 7th at Canton Baptist Temple. Text Renew to 440-546-2255.
Looking to take the next step in your faith but don't know where to begin? Why not download the new Bold Steps app? Find compelling messages centered on biblical truths and bite-sized wisdom for your life to take to the gym, the grocery store, or on your commute. Search for topics that matter the most to you or watch engaging videos that address relevant issues of our day. It's all there, and the best part? It's free. Download it today at your favorite app store.
Keeping your eyes on Jesus in a changing culture can be difficult. Let us help. It's Mornings with Brian on Moody Radio, Cleveland.
734, Christians across the world were outraged all over social media and issued statements, posted on Twitter and Facebook about how offensive it was to see what many deemed to be a mocking of the Last Supper, a depiction, specifically a depiction by Leonardo da Vinci painted in the Renaissance that sits now on a wall in Milan. And people were just like, look at this. And there was comparisons. Now, others, again, there's another narrative completely. The Olympic group from France, they're like, no, it wasn't that at all. We were just being French or artistic. And others are saying it looks a lot like actually a painting of the gods from the Greek gods, because, hello, Greek Olympics, that's where it originated. They had Dionysus clearly in the front, that weird, awkward, blue-painted guy.
Looked like Papa Smurf.
Yeah. we are never going to know for certain whether this was an attack on us or not. We'll never know for certain. Some people are texting in that they're certain. I am not that certain, but it's possible. But that's not even the most important question. The more important question for followers of Jesus is, let's just say it is intentionally designed to offend Christians. The question is, how do we respond? As ambassadors for Jesus Christ, how do we respond?
Yeah.
Most people that I saw online, their consensus was, we respond with outrage and condemnation.
I think your response needs to be much more private. I think I liked what someone said. Make sure you're praying and you have a heart for the lost, because these people are lost. Let's not get mad at them for not acting like Christians, for not knowing any better. I think if we just allow ourselves to get outraged online, it just gives more people fuel to turn their backs on us and the Jesus that we're supposed to represent. Like, oh, look at those intolerant, whatever label they want to assign to us Christians. It's not a good look for us.
Yeah, Lauren, you've been thinking about this a lot over the weekend. What would you say in terms of, like, let's just say it was 100% designed to insult you as a Christian. How should you respond?
I'm not sure what being offended does. It doesn't do anything to the artist. It doesn't do anything to the people that wanted to offend. It honestly, it actually just fuels the fire for them.
What do you mean fuels the fire?
The way that we're speaking and the way that we're acting towards this makes them say, see, look, that's why we're mocking you, because you act like that. Because you're not kind and you're not loving and you're mean. It just fuels the fire of why they would be mocking us. Because we're not acting like the way that we say Christians do act.
Well, Jesus flipped tables, guys. He got real mad.
Sure.
And he made a whip.
One time in 33 years.
And somebody could easily say, listen, if they were making fun of the way he did his Last Supper in a very intimate moment, a very important part of the Christian faith, the Last Supper, we commemorate some churches every Sunday. He'd make another whip and start flipping the tables.
But he's hanging on the cross as people are jeering and mocking. And he could have come down from that cross and created a whip and just beat the snot out of them. But instead, he said, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do.
Yeah, and this is the challenge. It's like, even though, like, I love a good outrage. I mean, I get outraged at how the way people handle four-way stops.
That's true.
I mean, and I need to work on that. So I'd love to get some permission from scriptures to go nutso here. Because it was not only gross, naked blue guy, what is that? It was weird.
It's supposed to be a family-friendly show, and that was
Yes.
not family-friendly.
I mean, there's a lot of things that bothered me about it. And the least of which would be the Last Supper, the thing. There's a lot of offensive things about it. But you have to ask yourself, what does Jesus expect of you? What you want doesn't matter. We have to not allow ourselves to be conformed to the patterns of this world, but allow the Lord to renew our minds. Allow him to change the way we think. Romans 12. Now, here's what the scriptures say about situations where we're offended or find something bothersome. Proverbs 19:11, good sense makes one slow to anger, and it is his glory to overlook an offense. Uh-oh. James 1:19, know this, my beloved brothers, let every person be quick to hear, slow to speak, slow to get angry. 2 Timothy 2:24, and the Lord's servant must not be quarrelsome, but be kind to everyone, able to teach, patiently enduring evil. Proverbs 9:7-9, whoever corrects a scoffer gets himself abuse, and he who reproves a wicked man incurs injury. Do not reprove a scoffer, or he'll hate you. Reprove a wise man, and he'll love you. Give instruction to a wise man, and he will be wiser still. Teach a righteous man, and he will be increase in learning. So, like, here's the really hard part. That's, like, directly about this. Not specifically, but a scoffer, we're saying these people were making fun of us. And if we correct them, we'll get abuse ourselves. And if we reprove wicked people, which many of us are saying that they were, we're going to get injured. That's what Proverbs says. Proverbs 12:16, the vexation of a fool is known at once, but the prudent ignores an insult. Jesus said, turn the other cheek. Ron, you mentioned that not only were they mocking him on the cross, right in front of him as he hang there dying, they were like casting lots for who gets his clothes. And he said, Lord, forgive them. They don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, we've said it multiple times. People have texted in plenty of times. So why are we expecting Christians to act like Christians?
Not Christians to act like Christians.
Yes,
yeah.
thank you. Not Christians to act like Christians. And I don't know. I hope and I would pray that our first response is to feel really, really sad that these people think that this is the way to express themselves, that this is an appropriate way to express a patriotism for France, that this is what they want to do. I think instead of outrage and anger, our hearts should turn towards sadness for them and loving them and praying that they come to know Christ, because obviously they do not. So instead of being outraged, we should be praying that they come to know Christ, because that's more important than our outrage. Is I want these people to know Christ because it is very obvious that they do not. And we're not of this world. Why are we so offended about this world? This is not our home. We're just kind of aliens passing through. And yet we're getting so offended about the things that are happening here when obviously this is not our end place. And none of this here on earth is of Christ. And so we should be praying that those people that think that that's okay and think that that's patriotism for France actually come to know Jesus.
Now, we always try to remind you that we like to think with nuance, okay? So be very clear about what you're hearing Lauren say. She's not saying it wasn't offensive.
No.
I'm not saying it wasn't offensive. Ron's not saying that. Daria's not saying that. Did we find much of that weird artistic catwalk part of and the weird Dionysus blue guy thing offensive? Absolutely.
Even if it wasn't the Last Supper, it was offensive. It was weird.
Like
offensively bad and weird.
Yes, super weird, super offensive. But the question isn't whether or not it was offensive and whether or not it was offensive to Christians. The question always has to become, what do we do with that? How does our faith in Christ dictate that we behave? And I love Luther's comment. I bring it up all the time. He said, my conscience is captive to the word of God, as in whether or not I like it, my conscience must be held captive to God's word and his expectations for me. And I don't know how many proverbs I need to tell me to overlook an offense.
Yeah, we had a pastor text in, and it's too long to share right now, but I think I would like to share it on Friday. But in essence is, even if it was to offend, and that was their point, at Jesus's table, all of those people would be invited to his table.
Oof. You agree with that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All of those people that were a part of that, the artist, the designer, the actors, the dancers, they would all be invited to Jesus' table. But instead, our response has been to turn them away from the table.
So we're the Pharisees.
Yeah.
Because remember, they did that. Jesus, once he called Matthew invited him to come and have dinner with all of his debaucherous friends, essentially. The scum. I mean, they were called scum. And to the Pharisee, why you let your teacher eat with all scum? He said, I didn't come to save those who think they're righteous, but those who know they're sinners. One of the other pieces I want to get to is a lot of people, including some famous people, were quoting the King James Version of Galatians 6, and they were specifically at somewhere around verse 7. Yeah, do not be deceived, God cannot be mocked, as a biblical response to what was taking place. And here's what I want to do. Since a lot of people were quoting as a condemnation of sorts, Galatians 6:7, I want us to look at that. What is Galatians 6:7 really about? Is it about that? Is it about condemning offensive behavior from non-Christians? We'll find out together here in just a minute.
Moody Radio is on the air thanks to support of listeners and Hawkins Sales. They've been serving the electrical industry nationwide for over 30 years. More information about Hawkins Sales is at hawkinssales.com.
1959, Cuba.
This is the biggest demonstration in Cuba's history. Almost 1 million people are here. There is Fidel Castro, the leader.
Cuba then became a one-party, communist and atheist state.
When the revolution took over in 59, things becomes bad to the churches.
But today, this longtime Cuban pastor sees hope.
We really think that this is our time to reach our country. Now people are willing to listen to the gospel.
Cuba needs Jesus. Cuba needs you. You can be part of something really big. Join TWR in taking the good news of Jesus into Cuba every night by radio.
Radio waves can reach everywhere. Any Cuban could listen to the gospel.
Partner today with TWR. Go to cubaneedsjesus.org.
Moody students don't just learn the Bible, they touch the world. Faculty member Bill Thrasher says these students are
working with individuals that no one else wants to do with, full of addictions and other things that have no hope. But to see our students touching people, it's just a great privilege to be able to build in these students that God sends into the harvest. Why don't you get involved right now in sending one that will reach many?
Visit moodyradio.org/Cleveland.
Keeping your eyes on Jesus in a changing culture can be difficult. Let us help. It's Mornings with Brian on Moody Radio, Cleveland.
746. It seems that many of us in America that are believers are agreeing on one thing. Well, a couple of things. That weird scene with a bunch of drag queens in the opening ceremonies of the Olympics this last weekend, super weird. Pretty offensive. It's like, even if you're not a Christian, you kind of would go, what is that? What are we doing? It's a sporting event for families to watch. And you got some naked guy painted blue? What are you doing? It's weird.
Yeah.
But the question is not really about that for followers of Christ. It's always, how does our faith move us to be more like Jesus in every situation we encounter, in both our thoughts and our actions? We've talked about how, whether we like it or not, Proverbs are full of admonitions for us to overlook an offense. And we're supposed to overcome evil with good. Like the New Testament teaches us to love our enemies and pray for those who persecute us. It's a radical thing to do. Many, I think, people, though, thought that there's some command somewhere. If you're a follower of Jesus, your job is to be outraged and publicly condemn. Now, I know that felt good because it's what I wanted to do. But I would encourage you to try to find a verse that tells us to do that. Or a principle taught in the Proverbs or anywhere where it's condemn non-believers for being offensive. There isn't one. I'll save you time. You're not going to find it.
Yeah, I think Jonah was feeling outraged about the people of Nineveh. God, they're evil. I'm not going to preach the gospel to them. And he had a slight detour until he realized God loves the people of Nineveh too.
Well said, Ron. But now a lot of Christians were going online and posting a specific passage. The King James Version is what I saw a lot of. Famous football player posted it. It's Galatians 6:7. Do not be deceived. God cannot be mocked. A man reaps what he sows. Whoever sows to please their flesh, from the flesh will reap destruction. Whoever sows to please the Spirit, from the Spirit will reap eternal life. And people were essentially slapping that on the internet saying, you just mock God, you're going to reap what you sow. You, non-believers in France, painted blue. That's what people were using it for that. I saw a lot of people like, there it is, gotcha. But we have to ask as Christians, when you're reading the Bible, and it's important for us to know context. So the book of Galatians, now we have a Moody Bible Institute grad among us, so. Oh my gosh. But the book of Galatians was written to believers in Galatia.
Correct.
So we know the audience of this
is believers.
Believers, okay? Now, Galatians 5, for some context, Galatians 6 is the last chapter of the book. Galatians 5 is all about the works of the flesh and the fruit of the Spirit. So the works of the flesh are described: immorality, debauchery, impurity. Don't do that if you're a believer. If you're a believer, display the fruits of the Spirit: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Galatians 6 starts with this: brothers and sisters, if someone's caught in sin, you who live by the Spirit should restore that person gently. Watch yourselves, or you will also be tempted. Carry each other's burdens, and in this way, you will fulfill the law of Christ. And he goes on to talk about each one should test their own actions. They shouldn't take pride in themselves. And then he says, do not be deceived. God cannot be mocked. A man reaps what he sows. Verse 9, let us not become weary in doing good. For at the proper time, we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. Therefore, as we have opportunity, let us do good to all people, especially those who belong to the family of believers. Paul is giving Christian people in Galatia, if I'm reading this correctly, specific instruction how to live out their Christian faith.
Right.
And Christian people shouldn't be mocking God and succumbing to their sinful desires. They should be focused on being holy and doing good to all people. So unless I'm missing something, this has absolutely nothing to do with condemning non-believers who are making fun of Christians.
Yeah, it's about the action of cause and effect of reaping what you sow. And if he's saying, if you ignore the reality of you reap what you sow, then you're mocking the cause effect. You're mocking what God has said.
So this is not telling non-believers don't make fun of us.
No.
It's not condemning non-believers for being bad sinners that are going to hell.
No.
Nothing to do with that?
Nope.
Please, could it be, though? Because that would be easier on the internet.
Well,
for like a good meme,
the internet
you know?
is a scary place.
And this is the problem with taking things out of context.
Yes.
I saw a lot of people posting that, and it feels good there. But that's not necessarily what it's actually about. We've got somebody on the line here, a lot of text messages coming in. We got Doug on the line. Hey, Doug, what do you want to add to this discussion?
Hey, how are you?
Good.
Good show today. Great show today. Hey, I wanted to just basically make a comment about, us as Christians, I think we have a real hard time separating the sin from the sinner.
Mm-hmm.
Because the Bible says, love the sinner, hate the sin. So what do you do with that, right? There's all kinds of stuff, and I'm not saying that you don't get ticked off. I was pretty much because, they're insulting my Lord,
Yeah.
That's a big deal. But you got to also understand, you know what? The fight that we fight, it's spiritual. Now, I'm not going crazy. You know what I'm saying? The Bible says we war not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, powers, wicked rulers in high places. It's the spiritual deities and this whole thing that's stirring the whole thing up all over the world. It's a principality. So, your one gal is right. Prayer is the main thing we've got. And we don't think it, it is a big deal, but it really, really is. But, in the world I live in, I'm in construction. I work with my hands. I try to get things done, So, we see things like that insult us, that hurt us. But we got to try to take that step back and know, you know what? We serve a big God, He can take care of what he's got to take care of.
Amen.
Just live your life,
Yeah.
do what he tells you to do,
I've never liked when people tell me this, but it's true.
Yeah.
Like, Jesus doesn't need me to defend him. He's got it under control.
No, you're right, and it's tough because we want to react, but again, that's the flesh. We're in it. It's part of what we are, but that's not really who we really are.
Yeah, brother.
So keep doing what you're doing, guys.
You too, Doug.
Good show. Good show.
Thanks for the call.
Sure.
Stay on the line. I'm going to send you a mug, Doug.
Oh, yes. Don't hang up, Doug. Doug, we're going to send you some stuff.
A mug, Doug.
Boy, yeah.
I just want to correct something.
Yeah.
He said the Bible says, love the sinner, hate the sin, or opposite, however he phrased it. That's not actually a quote from the Bible.
Right.
Although you might, put concepts together and say that concept is there.
Mm-hmm.
But I just wanted to clarify that it's not quoted in the Bible as such.
Very good. Thank you, Ron. Now, you might say, but you guys, these are obviously people who are enemies of the cross. They are people who are making fun of Jesus' sacrifice, because the Last Supper is all about him asking us to remember what he's about to do.
Right.
His body and his blood broken for us, his blood shed for us, right? Here's the challenge. And I don't like it when I get offended, but it's true. Who does he want us to love?
The sinner.
Our enemies.
Yeah. Right.
If these people are enemies, our enemies mocking us, we're specifically told to love them. I mean, Jesus says, if they take you to court to sue you over your coat, give them 2. If a Roman soldier asks you to carry his gear for 1 mile, carry it for 2. Because we're supposed to be radical and unconventional in the way we treat people who are harsh to us.
Yeah, someone texted in and says the difference is that they don't want to be at Christ's table. Okay. That doesn't give us a pass not to love them.
Right.
Yeah, and I don't know that we can presume as much as we think we do about that dinner that Matthew hosted. Remember, Jesus was at the very beginning of his ministry. He calls Matthew a tax collector, and Matthew's so excited about the guy he met that he's going to follow, that he wants his friends to meet him too. Were they all Christians? Nope.
No.
Nope. Tax collectors and other disreputable sinners. Did they want to be there? I don't know. I mean, Matthew invited them. They must have wanted to be with Matthew.
Right. And we don't get the opportunity as Christians to say, oh, well, they don't want to know Christ, so I don't have to preach the gospel to them.
Right.
That's not something that we get the opportunity to do. That would be nice, but we don't get to do that. He says, preach the gospel to all nations. He doesn't make a caveat of, but if they say that they don't want it, you don't have to preach it to them. That's not an option that we get. It's a preach the gospel to all nations, to all people, and to love your enemies.
And we're right, because Jesus is slow to fulfill his promises because he wants as many as possible to be saved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That ought to be our heart's disposition as well. It's a tough one because I understand people's frustration.
Yeah, I think people...
You don't want Trey watching that.
No, I don't want Trey watching that.
Mommy, can I walk around naked, painted blue? You don't want him asking you that.
Right. Yeah, we don't need
And the
kids
answer's no.
seeing naked people on the internet or on TV. Obviously. It's okay to be offended by it. But what you should not be doing is yelling at people, saying negative things about people, being mean, unloving, unchristlike.
And so if you get to the office today and people know you're a Christian and they're at the coffee maker or whatever, and they're like, hey, heard a bunch of Christians are mad about that opening ceremony. What do you think of it? What do we say?
I would say I didn't watch it.
Well, that's true for you.
Yeah. For those who did watch it, you might say, whatever your true feelings are. I thought it was trashy. I thought it was not family friendly when they said it would be. I thought it was weird. However you want to describe it. You don't necessarily have to jump to, well, I felt like it was a mockery of my Lord, and as such, I'm offended to the core. And if you want to do that, you can, but it's just weird. So call it out as weird. Everyone would agree with that.
Yeah, and I like where you're headed, because in some way, we have an opportunity if somebody asks us as Christians how to respond to that in a way that honors God and is accurate with the scriptures. Be like, yeah, it was pretty weird. Glad my kids weren't watching. But Jesus prayed for people who were making fun of him. So I prayed for him.
Mm-hmm.
That might surprise somebody, wouldn't it? But if it's about you and you being offended, well, then you go ahead and just let it all loose. But I don't think that's what it's supposed to be about.
No.
And you said this early on, Lauren. What do we accomplish by being really publicly mad? What do we accomplish?
Not much.
I'm trying to think of what that accomplishes, other than make me feel better.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to blow off some steam.
Right. It makes me feel better.
Is that what the Christian faith is about? Make me feel better? No, I don't have to ask that. It's not what it's about.
And other people who are, reading your posts, I've seen some posts from Christian friends that really blow up about this. And I just think if you have any unsaved people who are your Facebook friends, they're going to read this and be like, how did you get that? They would not understand, and they would just think you're all the weirder. Because I'm sure they already think you're weird for worshiping a guy who died a couple thousand years ago.
Because they don't think he rose again.
Exactly.
Yeah. But again, don't take our word for it. Ours is a little bit countercultural based on what I saw on the internet. Most Christians I read about were asking everybody to get more mad. But don't take our word for it. Search the scriptures. If you're convinced that you ought to be outraged for Jesus, see what the scriptures say. Find at least one passage in context that will support that principle. And if you can't find it, examine yourself. It's 8:01 and it's time for Ron's News. We can pick this back up on Friday, I'm sure, if you want to cover that again. But in just a few minutes, we'll get an update on the persecuted church. Not in Paris, France, but from our friend Todd Nettleton, a Voice of the Martyrs.
Mornings with Brian on Moody Radio Cleveland, WCRF Cleveland, WVMS Sandusky, WVML Millersburg, WVMN Newcastle, WVME Meadville, WVMU Ashtabula, and everywhere with the Moody Radio app or at moodyradio.org/Cleveland.
The second man injured during the attempted assassination of former President Trump earlier this month has been released from the hospital. It's 8:01. I'm Ron Eastwood, Moody Radio News. James Copenhaver was discharged last Friday, according to The Hill. David Dutch, who was also injured in the attack, was also released last week. It is unknown the extent of either injury. First responders were called to the scene of a Cleveland school on Saturday after someone got stuck in the chimney. The Cleveland Fire Department reports a man was trying to get into St. Patrick's School on the city's west side when he became trapped. Firefighters freed the man, who was then taken to a local hospital for medical treatment. And Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse will be a polling location this November for many Cleveland voters. The city of Cleveland says a collaboration with the Cleveland Cavaliers has been finalized and will allow for residents in Cleveland's 3rd Ward precincts I, L, and Q to cast their ballot at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse on November 5th. I'll be right back with sports and weather.
Ladies, are you looking for spiritual encouragement? Moody Radio invites you to rejuvenate your faith and draw close to Jesus at Renew, the one-day conference for women, coming to Canton, Ohio, September 7th. Your spirit will be uplifted and your mind engaged as our keynote speakers share insights from God's Word that will inspire you to pursue godliness in your home, work, church, and community. You'll also spend time in worship with hundreds of godly women who, just like you, desire a deeper intimacy with Christ. Sign up today at moodyconferences.com/renew.
In sports, the Guardians edged the Phillies 4-3, and the Pirates downed the Diamondbacks 6-5 in extra innings. Meantime, the U.S. heads into the 3rd full day of Olympic competition atop the medal standings. Team USA has won a total of 12 medals, including 3 gold, 6 silver, and 3 bronze. France is second with 8 total medals, followed by Japan with 7. Here's your Moody Radio Cleveland forecast. Partly sunny with a chance of showers and thunderstorms this morning, and then mostly cloudy this afternoon with showers and thunderstorms likely. Our highs today will reach into the lower 80s. At last check, clear skies now in Cleveland, 75 degrees. Akron and Canton still cloudy, 72. And Lorraine, Elyria, cloudy skies and 74 degrees.
It's time for your moron moment.
You don't have to be Italian or a fat orange cartoon cat to celebrate National Lasagna Day on July 29th. Tomato sauce, cheeses, meat, and vegetables, all separated by wide, flat noodles. What's not to love? Lasagna first showed up in Naples, Italy during the Middle Ages and made it to America in the 19th century. Since then, Americans have made it all their own. And I do love lasagna. And that's your Moron Moment. And you'll find that on our Facebook and Instagram. It's 8:05. With Moody Radio News, I'm Ron Eastwood.
Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. 103.3 at 6 to 9 a.m.
9 WCRF. If you missed it, an hour ago we announced our keynote speaker for the Renew Women's Conference is none other than the Dr. Julie Slattery. You know her. She's from Authentic Intimacy. She's author, speaker, Akron native, host of the Job with Julie podcast. She's our keynote for Renew. Get your tickets. The discount tickets last through the end of July, which is, I learned we're in July right now a few moments ago off the air. I said to Lauren, we get paid tomorrow, right? Because we get paid the last day of the month on our system. And she's like, no. I was like, well, but 30 days has September, April, June, 30 days. She goes, Brian, it's July. I totally forgot.
Yeah, you were like really trying to convince me that I was wrong.
I've quickly realized, no, you're correct.
You have multiple
It's
devices
July.
in front of you that, like, in the top corner tells you what the date is.
For days, I've been convinced it's June. I don't know why. But nonetheless, you have 2 days, 2.5 days now to get your discounted tickets. Text RENEW to 440-546-2255. Text RENEW to 440-546-2255. Well, we have a good friend. His name is Todd Nettleton. He's Chief of Media Relations and Message Integration for Voice of the Martyrs, and he's host of Voice of the Martyrs Radio. And he joins us on a frequent basis to give us updates on the persecuted church. Welcome back to the show.
Thanks so much. It's good to be with you.
Let's start, first of all, with a real sad story coming out of Southeast Asia.
Yeah, this is a sad story, and it is now public. I can identify the country. Laos is the country. Last Tuesday, a pastor in Laos in the evening, Tuesday evening, he's at home. There's a knock on the door. He goes to the door. There are two men apparently wearing suits, which is interesting. They pulled out a gun. One of them pulled out a gun, shot him twice. He died right there. He is a well-known pastor in Laos. He is a member of the Khmu tribe, which is one of the minority tribal groups in Laos. But he was a pastor in the official church structure there in Laos. So he had permission to be a pastor. He was in a registered church. So it's not 100% clear what led to this, but it is an incredibly sad thing for his wife, for his family. They had actually taken in some kids, orphans, and so they had multiple kids in their home, some of whom apparently saw him shot and killed. So this has been a very traumatic thing for them, for their church, and we just want people to pray for his family, for his church, and for the broader Christian community in Laos. This is a pastor now who's been gunned down. If you go back 2 years, 2022, there was a pastor who was kidnapped and his body was found later. Interestingly, he that afternoon had two men come to his door asking about him. So we have two men in both of these cases. But this is really a shock to the church community in Laos.
So you are saying that this isn't super unexpected, though, although you don't talk often about Laos, as I recall.
It is not common. When it happened in 2022, it was like, wow, when is the last time a pastor was martyred in Laos? The fact that we're now only 2 years later and it's another one, it does raise some concerns because this hadn't been the pattern. You would see a pastor arrested, you would see a pastor detained, maybe even held for 3 or 4 months in prison, but to have someone killed for their faith is not the norm in Laos, or at least it hasn't been the norm in Laos. And, hopefully it's not going to be the norm going forward.
All right, let's shift gears a little bit here. There's an evangelist in China who received a prison sentence. What's going on there?
Yeah, this is an interesting story. This man's name is Chen Wensheng. He is a former drug addict. God rescued him out of drug addiction. And since then, he has traveled all over China sharing his testimony. Hey, I was addicted to drugs. I met Jesus. Now I'm not addicted. I'd like to tell you more about Jesus too. That has made him such a high value criminal. It's interesting. He was arrested. They held his trial in April, and it was as if they had the leader of ISIS on trial. They had 40 armed policemen. They blocked off the entire block in front of the courthouse. They wouldn't let his family attend the trial. They wouldn't let any of his friends attend the trial. It was like this high-value target had been captured and was on trial. At the end of that time, they sentenced him to 19 months in prison. Again, for traveling around, talking about the fact that he used to be addicted to drugs and he's not anymore. It seems like China would prefer drug addicts to followers of Jesus. They're
right.
locking up followers of Jesus, but they're allowing like they don't want you to talk to drug addicts about a possible path to healing.
Wow. So do you think that's is it perhaps a shorter sentence than you would expect because of his anti-drug campaign, or is this pretty typical to get 19 months?
You know, that is an interesting question. It is. If it was a pastor, we would expect a longer prison sentence. So the fact that he's sort of a traveling evangelist, that he's not having regular church services, I think maybe was in his favor. He has appealed this sentence. So we'll see. You know, there's not a high success rate of appeal in the Chinese court system once they give you a sentence, but he has appealed. And so there's some possible hope that it could be lessened. But again, it's like, what is his crime? He is talking about, I used to be addicted. I'm not anymore. Hey, I'd like to talk to you about maybe you don't want to be addicted anymore either. It's like, how do you lock someone in prison for doing that?
Wow. Wild. All right, let's shift our attention to another part of Asia. Talk to us about what's happening in Malaysia.
Today in Malaysia, Susanna Koh, we have talked about her before. Her husband was abducted in 2017. He has not been seen or heard from since. His car has never been found. She is in court today trying to get the government to explain what happened. There was a report by the Human Rights Commission there that blamed the special branch of the police, kind of their version of the FBI or the CIA, for this forced disappearance. She's trying to get the government to open the books and say, hey, here's what we know. Here's what happened. Here's the information we have. She is in court today for the next day of her hearing. It's interesting that the government has released part of their information in another case of forced disappearance, a Shia Muslim leader who disappeared in very similar circumstances. They've released part of the report to his wife, but they won't release it to Pastor Raymond Koh's wife. And she's in court today saying, hey, why? Why would you give it to her and not me? Her lawyer is trying to make the argument, listen, it's not private. It's not confidential anymore. You've already released it once. She wants to see that report as well.
What do you expect to be the outcome?
You know, it is hard to know. There is a different leader in Malaysia today than there was in 2017 when Pastor Raymond Koh was abducted. So I hope there is not sort of the need to cover the past because it was someone else. We don't have to protect ourselves by hiding this information. But certainly there are still leaders in the police force there that were in power in 2017. And, you know, if the police are abducting citizens off the streets, that creates quite a bit of trouble. So I think they'll fight tooth and nail to keep this information secret.
Once again, our guest has been Todd Nettleton. He's Chief of Media Relations and Message Integration for Voice of the Martyrs USA, also host of the Voice of the Martyrs radio program and podcast. Todd, how can folks get connected to your ministry to get regular updates as well as find your program?
Persecution.com is the main Voice of the Martyrs website. There's links there to VOM Radio. Also at the top of the page, there's a button that says Free Magazine. Just click on that. Give us your name and address. We'll send you the Voice of the Martyrs magazine each month. Again, the website, persecution.com.
All righty. Thanks again, Todd. As always, we're grateful to hear about these updates. It helps really bring things in perspective, I think. So thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
You bet. Yeah, you know, guys, at least for me, this is me. You hear about people being arrested and disappearing for following Jesus or being murdered. It makes it less of a big deal to have a weird Olympic opening ceremony.
Right.
Doesn't it? Or am I just being dramatic? I'm always pretty dramatic. But I hope it gives a little perspective. Like, as much as that felt like some sort of persecution, comparatively speaking, I'm glad I'm not a believer in Laos.
Yes.
Right.
Or Malaysia or India or China. Praise the Lord for that. Mm-hmm. We are truly blessed to be where we are. Mm-hmm. It's 8:18 coming up in a minute. Oh, there's a new trick trock on the TikTok. There's a new trend, a brand new trend, and it's not what you think.
Oh.
It's always these influencers telling you how to put your makeup on, right, Lauren?
I don't know. I don't watch those ones, so.
Which ones do you watch? They're trying to. You watch funny things.
Yeah, I watch funny stuff, obviously.
But not people falling down.
No.
People being scared?
No.
But there's trends on TikTok all the time. There's a new one among young people. Maybe it's going to be a good thing. We'll get to it.
Her name is Jenny, and maybe like you, she and her husband got tired of their health care getting more and more expensive, so they did it. They went with MediShare.
We signed on with MediShare in March, had a really great experience. It was super easy to get going with them. And then in October of that same year, we found out that I had stage 3 breast cancer.
We were put at ease with MediShare, guiding us and walking with us and saying that they were going to be praying for us.
It's very intentional how they try to bless people when they know this is one of the hardest things that they're going through.
They and their 4 kids thank the Lord, not only for her healing and how he provided for them, but she says it makes her emotional just realizing how she gets to pay it forward.
What we put towards MediShare is going to be blessing another mom, and they're going to show up for her the way that they showed up for me.
You save a lot, and you're part of something really, really good. Call now. It's 877-58-BIBLE. That's 877-58-BIBLE. 877-58-BIBLE.
As a Moody Radio listener, you value biblical truth and wisdom, including stewardship, which requires intentionality. If you're 70 and a half or older and have a traditional IRA, you can wisely invest in this gospel ministry through a qualified charitable distribution or QCD gift, which could reduce your tax liability and meet your RMD requirements too. Learn more at moodylegacy.org/QCD. We explain it all at moodylegacy.org/QCD. Thanks for partnering in the gospel with Moody.
Do you love the ministry of the Renew Women's Conference? You'll love the discount pricing available until the end of the day Wednesday. Go to moodyconferences.com/renew or text RENEW to 440-546-2255. Save on registration now through July 31st.
Keeping your eyes on Jesus in a changing culture can be difficult. Let us help. It's Mornings with Brian on Moody Radio Cleveland.
Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. 103.3 at 6 to 9 a.m.
8:26 on a Monday here, WCRF. And just in case you were like me and you forgot, it's July. It snuck up on me.
It went very fast.
Summer's going fast. And since
I was like, with you for 3 weekends, it's like enough.
You were?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, you were. Yeah. That's enough to last a lifetime there.
Yeah.
And see, since the summer is going so fast, I can't forget to mention to you that in like a little over a month, we got our Renew Women's Conference.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, we had a major announcement, and we'll get back to that in just a moment. But the Renew Women's Conference, again, September 7th, Canton Baptist Temple. 3 speakers, one of them Taylor James. She's from New Community Bible Fellowship, where she's on staff. She came on the show the other day. Oof, she's great. And then you got Glenna Marshall. She's an author, speaker, pastor's mom. Sorry, pastor's wife. She may someday become a pastor's mom, which is not something you talk about much.
Right.
I decided to bring it up here.
New topic.
So,
pastor's moms.
Like your grandma. Is she still with us?
No.
No? Bummer. We can't find out what it's like to be a pastor's mom. Okay.
Scott Lessing, is your mom available?
We should talk to Scott Lessing's mom.
Yes.
What's it like being a pastor's mom?
Yeah.
You're probably very proud is what you are. The end.
Pastor's mom. She's a mom and a pastor's wife.
There you go. That's what
Brian
it
means
is.
to say.
So we've got early bird pricing through the end of this month, so just a few more days. You can text the word RENEW to 440-546-2255. Text RENEW 440-546-2255. And our keynote speaker, which was announced just over an hour ago, Dr. Julie Slattery. Yes, Dr. Julie Slattery, co-founder of Authentic Intimacy, host of the Java with Julie podcast, Akron native. She was on the Focus on the Family daily broadcast for a number of years. She's on the board of trustees at the Moody Bible Institute. First woman on the board of trustees at the Moody Bible Institute in like 150 years.
Shout out.
Impressive.
Girl power. And she'll be speaking. And we haven't mentioned that opening for all of these speakers, everybody's brand new favorite duo, That Girl.
Oh, nice.
Here we are. Thank you, Ron.
For those who don't know, what is the story again about That Girl? Somebody wrote to you about that, right? I don't know who That Girl was.
Yes,
Yeah.
whoever that girl was that you had on.
Yeah, and so they didn't know whether it was you or Daria. And so,
Or they thought me and Daria were just one person.
Right.
We are that girl.
And yes, you are. You
Together.
collectively are
Together,
that girl.
we are that girl.
We should come up with a That Girl AI theme song, I think.
Ron.
Yes. To do as a walk-up.
Ron, can you make Snoono or whatever it's called?
Yes, I'll work with my friend.
Ron is on the case.
Your
Work
friend,
with my
artificial
friend.
intelligence?
The musician.
You should make it in kind of like a Joan Jett, like
That's an
Oh,
idea.
yeah.
Yes.
girl power rock from
I'd
the 80s.
enjoy that.
Who did the "I'm a real tough cookie with a long"?
Pat Benatar.
Pat
Yes.
Benatar. Yeah, tell AI kind of a Pat Benatar, Joan
Pat
Jett,
Benatar vibes.
kind of Chrissy Hynde kind of thing. It'll be That Girl, and it'll be a walk-up song.
Okay.
But knowing the two of you, sorry, scratch that. Knowing you, Lauren, there'll be no performing of any sort.
No performance.
Daria would perform.
No one's asked me. They just asked me to MC, and that kind of is a performance in a way.
Yeah, it is. Will you?
That's so true.
Will That Girl allow me to wave to the crowd?
Yeah, obviously.
People
Your name
wanna
is on
see
the
you.
show.
I'm sorry, what was that, Daria?
I said people want to see you.
I must have missed something here. What was that? One more time there?
You're not getting me a third time.
I'll wave, but it's going to feature That Girl. So you got Dr. Julie Slattery, Taylor James, Glenna Marshall, That Girl, all of those at
Both of them.
Renew Women's Conference, Canton Baptist Temple, September 7th. You can text RENEW to 440-546-2255 to get all your information. But am I reading this right? Lauren, you want to give away a pair of registrations?
That's exactly right.
So like a girl could bring her mom,
Mm-hmm. Or her sister,
her daughter,
her niece,
neighbor.
cousin.
So we're going to give away a pair of registrations to the Renew Women's Conference right now to caller number 5. Caller number 5 right now. 440-546-2255. 440-546-2255. Caller number 5 will get that pair of registrations. Again, September 7th, Canton Baptist Temple. Be there or be square.
Call now.
440-546-2255. Coming up after we announce the winner, you tired of influencers on TikTok?
Yeah.
There's a new trend. Us old people will evaluate it together in just a minute.
This is FEBC Today with Ed Cannon, the president of the Far East Broadcasting Company. I'm Wayne Shepherd. Ed, what's fresh on your heart and mind from the scriptures?
Well, actually, our pastor at my church, who does a great job, by the way, has been preaching through the book of Acts. And just recently, as I had an opportunity to speak to a group of emerging young leaders at FEBC on the subject of mission, I was reminded of one of his powerful sermons. He was preaching on Acts chapter 13 and 14, where Paul had been in Antioch and then had moved to Iconium. And the people from Antioch and Iconium were so troubled by Paul's powerful message and the fact that he was preaching Jesus, and they were envious and jealous of all the attention he were getting. They followed him to Lystra, and it was in Lystra that these Jews from Antioch and Iconium came and stoned Paul to death, or so they thought. Now, his message was so powerful, and then he talked about how horribly Paul must have been injured in order for the Jews to think he was dead and left him alone.
Right.
Now, where this connects to mission is, the very next day after Paul came to consciousness, he didn't concentrate on taking care of himself. What did he do? He went back into Iconium, and in order to make sure that what he had done to preach the gospel was working, he was driven by a mission. He was a man on a mission. Nothing apart from a powerful mission to proclaim the word of God could attract such incredible behavior.
We're so thankful for the mission of the Far East Broadcasting Company. If you'd like to learn more about it, go to febc.org and look for information there online. That's febc.org.
Why do some abortion-minded women decide to choose life for their babies only to change their minds again later and pursue abortion? They say it's because they felt alone and disconnected from ongoing support. Ava was considering abortion when she visited a mobile ultrasound unit in her community, but Ava's connection to help and support didn't stop there. The staff at this mobile unit partnered with a local church where Ava was welcomed, and a team had been trained through CareNet's Making Life Disciples program. Women and men considering abortion need the hope of the gospel and the help of God's people so that they can be transformed and empowered to choose life. That's why CareNet developed Making Life Disciples. Your church can become a central point of compassion in your community. It's easy to access the simple, practical, pro-life training sessions online. Learn more about Making Life Disciples at care-net.org. care-net.org.
Join the conversation by call or text at 440-546-2255. It's Mornings with Brian on Moody Radio Cleveland.
A teens community is on Snapchat or on TikTok. And so how would you go about having both? I would want my child to have their community. I don't want them to feel left out. I want them to feel like they're connected. But also, there is so much harm in social media. How can we have both?
Honestly, when you give your child Instagram, Snapchat, whatever it is you're going to give them in 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, 9th grade, whenever you're going to do that, does that automatically, magically make them so happy and so loved? I mean, it really, truly, if we're honest, it does the opposite, that all of a sudden now it opens up this whole world of oh my word, I thought I was good looking, but now I see a gazillion people who are better looking than me. Is that trait of drama and pain and constantly measuring themselves, is that pain worth it?
Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. 103.3 at 6 to 9 a.m.
This is Moody Radio Cleveland, WCRF, Mornings with Brian. If you missed it, we already talked about at length, by the way, the Olympics controversy from the opening ceremony. Try to think through it biblically. But fear not, it's on YouTube.
Yeah, that's part of the live stream. I'm also going to pull that out and post it separately so it's easier for you to find. We've had some people ask about that already.
Yeah, so for more information on our live stream, text live to 440-546-2255. Text live to 440-546-2255. And you can also just search for us on YouTube. We're Mornings with Brian on Moody Radio Cleveland. Now, among the four of us, I would say that Lauren is the TikToker.
Wait, we have a winner to announce.
Oh, I forgot. We have a big winner. A winner of a pair of registrations to the Renew Women's Conference happening September 7th at Canton Baptist Temple, featuring keynote speaker Dr. Julie Slattery. The winner was from Parma Heights, Anne-Marie. Congratulations, Anne-Marie from Parma Heights. We salute you and your awesomeness, okay? So congratulations to her. And are we giving away more pairs of registrations? I don't know. We'll find out. It depends on the kind of mood Lauren's in.
I wish.
Then would we give any away?
Probably not. It's the morning, okay?
No, I get it.
If you want a pair of tickets, you have to volunteer to babysit Trey and Ellis.
That sounds fun.
They're not the really fun age right now.
But you can, at a discounted rate through the end of this month, you can get your tickets to Renew right now. Text Renew to 440-546-2255. Text Renew to 440-546-2255. But, Lauren, I think of all of us here on the team, you're the TikToker.
Yeah, not that I post on TikTok, but that I lurk on TikTok.
What prevents you from posting on TikTok?
I'm not putting myself out there. I'm not doing dances. I have nothing to say. What am I gonna do?
You've got a cool job.
You could be like, hey, everybody, what's up? It's Lauren here on the TikTok.
On the TikTok.
Behind the scenes on the radio.
No.
Look at me go. No?
No.
You could do health advice for moms with kids with allergies.
There you go.
I could.
I feel like Ron just gave you a big winning idea.
Allergy mom. Hashtag allergy mom.
That's probably a thing already.
Yes, it is.
And you could jump on the bandwagon.
Yeah.
You'd have a lot to say.
I guess.
But there's a brand new trend happening on TikTok. Now, I'm not on the TikTok because because I call it the TikTok.
Yeah.
But it's essentially, for those who don't know, social media. People post little videos. Now you can do real long ones.
Yes. I think like 10 minutes or something. Who wants to do that?
I mean, if a video doesn't get to the funny part where someone falls down.
Within 30 seconds.
Yeah.
I'm
30.
out.
If I got to wait 30 seconds for someone to trip in a video, I'm out. I want 3 to 5 seconds, get to it and move on. So all that to say, TikTok's full of influencers as well. And these people actually make a ton of money influencing you.
To buy things.
Essentially, yes, it is to buy things. Like they get sponsors, corporate sponsors, to try out the products. And in a shocking twist, they love them. They love the product and they think you should buy it.
That's right.
I think that's amazing that people fall for this.
Yeah, and there's a whole thing, you probably don't know this, called the TikTok shop.
What?
Yeah, it's like a really big part of TikTok is that it's a shop.
I did not know that.
As in, like, there's a way to buy stuff from TikTok.
Yes.
That's a new thing, isn't it? People are complaining about it.
Yeah, they've been complaining about it, but they still buy stuff. They're like, oh, I got all this stuff on TikTok shop.
TikTok shop. That sounds fun.
TikTok shop. It's pretty cheap stuff.
Not fun for your wallet.
No.
But I just don't get it why people don't realize the person telling you to buy a product they're holding and trying. That number one, they didn't pay for this product. It was given to them for free.
They do know that.
They do know it.
Yes, everybody knows that.
And so they're trusting their review of this product they were paid to endorse.
Or they just think that they need that product. Not necessarily that they trust the review, but they're being exposed to something new.
I think it's more of an online keeping up with the Joneses type thing. Like you need to have the latest, the coolest thing. That's how the Stanley mug blew up.
Well, things are changing. Like many TikTok users, Megan Pexton found herself constantly bombarded with videos of influencers suggesting items she should buy. She's tired of it, such as matching workout sets and a $4,000 couch, along with the aspirational lifestyle that goes along with those items. So when TikTok served Miss Pexton, who's 24, a stream of content over the July 4th holiday weekend that featured scenes of luxury in the Hamptons, New York. She reached her limit. Did you see a lot about the Hamptons too?
No.
Was it about like Manor or something, or Worcester?
No.
Manaway?
No.
Well, if she says, is anyone just over the era of influencers recently? She posted in TikTok. She's like, hey, TikTokers, people, how do you start those? Hey guys.
Hey, guys.
Hey, guys, is anyone out there just tired of all these influencers? I can't do it anymore, she said. I can't watch any more videos of people going to Pilates at 5 a.m. and drinking their greens and bone broth and walking around the city and sending emails and going to the Hamptons on holidays.
And sending emails.
Like walking around and sending emails. And people are having their greens. And they're...
Right.
That's where my daughter found out about the greens.
Oh, totally.
Dad, I've got to have my greens before I eat breakfast.
Huge trend right now.
Yeah, it's a big.
It's got to have them. I just don't feel right if I don't have them. Really? I did fine without green things. I'm doing fine with this Pop-Tart right now. It's not green at all. In fact, there's no real color in it. It's all fake. And so what's happening now is something called underconsumption core. Underconsumption core. And I'm learning as well, this core, that's something you put on the end of a word to make it a thing, is what they say in this article.
It's kind of an aesthetic.
Yeah.
Like, what are some other cores?
Like cottage core was pretty big during COVID.
Cottage core. Sounds like the middle of a container of cottage cheese.
Ew. Yeah. That's like making like your house like cozy and warm and cottagey vibes.
But you would say, I'm so cottage core.
That's so cottage core.
That's so can I be cottage core?
Yeah, but you aren't.
I don't think anyone's thinking I am. What's another core? It's fun.
Barbie core, like when Barbie came out last year.
Oh, I thought it was like CORPS. Like we're the
no.
we're Barbie's crew. Look at us.
No, Barbie core.
You're actually, what was that one? Dressing in pink?
Yeah, and like dressing in girly
like
Barbie-ish
pastels,
stuff. Yeah.
prints, like super feminine.
So you were not her fan. You were just
channeling her.
You were making it a thing by putting core at the end.
I guess, yeah. Like the
So
trend
weird.
of wearing stuff that would look like it's in the movie was Barbie core.
Is there any other core you can think of? I really thought it was corpse.
I'm sure there's a lot. None are coming to mind right now.
No, Ron, did we do weird stuff like this as kids? I don't think we did. I mean, in your generation and mine, I'm lumping us together, but
yeah, we were fans of things, WWF at the time became WWE.
But
we didn't call it core. Like, I'm not wrestling core.
I don't remember any friends dressing up like Hulk or Hogan or whatever.
What? I'm sure people did that.
They dressed up like Michael Jackson, I guess, sometimes, but...
I mean, people were influenced to wear things based on movies they saw. They probably just weren't as aware they were doing it because they weren't talking about it online and they didn't call it that.
Well, underconsumption core, not to be confused with the group of people who like underconsumption in the CORPS.
So you're telling me people weren't influenced to dress like the people from the Breakfast Club? Absolutely they were.
Well, yeah, but we didn't come up with a dumb name for it.
That's what that is.
They just made a name.
Yes.
They just did it. They didn't have to
It'd
call
be
it.
the Breakfast Club core.
They had the emo core.
The Rachel is a haircut because of Friends.
The Rachel haircut core. Exactly.
Friends core.
A lot of girls did that.
Yes, or they dress like Monica in her cute little outfits.
The
yes.
best was before that, though, the poofy bangs,
Oh,
where you'd
yeah.
have to get them way out there and you'd hairspray
Like
them.
really wind it up.
Every once in a while, you'd be able to, a girl would let you, touch the poofy bangs, and they would bounce. Just like, gook. But it would stay there. So much hairspray. That would have been bangs core.
Sure.
But in this case,
Poodle skirt core.
Underconsumption core, it's only buying and using what you need.
Oh, wow.
And so the New York Times wrote, yes, being normal is now trending.
Not buying so much stuff.
Yeah, the
Just
trend
buy
is...
what you need and you use it.
Yeah.
Buy secondhand.
Yeah.
And then, just...
That's it.
What you need.
So the reason this is a trend and the reason it's so encouraging is because of people in mine and Lauren's generations, we've been bombarded by messaging of like, oh, you need to have this. And like people our age that make a lot of money acting like this is just a normal lifestyle to be able to buy like a new wardrobe every season, new Christmas decorations, like shopping cart hauls are a really big thing where they just go into Target and they buy just a ton of stuff. So this is just really like pushing back against that. Like, no, this is what a normal life looks like. And you don't need to feel bad. You don't need to rack up credit card debt to look like what you think a quote unquote normal life looks like. Because there's like 4 people on the planet that can afford to do what these influencers are doing.
And they're not even affording it. People are giving it to them for free.
Or I've seen like some behind the scenes where people are like, okay, like I feel bad about my shopping cart hauls. The reality is I don't actually buy any of it. I put it all back when I'm done making the video.
But now, even is underconsumption core accurate, or is it just regular consumption core?
Yeah, someone texted us, normal core.
Yeah, like underconsumption. It's a very big word.
Yeah, I don't think
It's
you're
not snappy.
under-consuming. I think you're just being normal. You're consuming the normal amount of
like
things you need.
Barbie core. It's like just comes out fast.
Under-consumption core.
Under-consumption core. It's like, it sounds nerdy. You need normal core.
Normal core.
Regular buying core. Regular core. But that would sound more like an Activia commercial or something. 849 at WCRF.
The words you are about to hear are taken from letters sent in by members of the Trinity Debt Management Program.
Dear Trinity, today I'm making my final credit card payment.
Before I came to you, I was in a constant state of anxiety and panic, but now there is hope for my family's financial future.
Working with Trinity made me understand that I'm not alone.
You really do help people.
Your kindness will never be forgotten.
Without Trinity support, I would not have achieved my lifelong goal of becoming debt-free.
We saved a lot on interest and penalties, of course, but the reward was the gift of human kindness.
Trinity has carried me through a very difficult time in my life. You're amazing.
I used to feel so anxious and hopeless. Now I feel grace and peace.
God bless Trinity as you continue to help others become debt-free.
If credit card debt has you down, call Trinity at 1-800-659-9838. That's 1-800-659-9838.
Do you hear that? That's the early bird. She's saying that discount pricing on Renew Women's Conference registration ends this Wednesday. Renew is Saturday, September 7th. Register today for in-person or online attendance. Go to moodyconferences.com/renew.
We have an exciting invite for you. Visit Moody's campus in the heart of downtown Chicago this fall for Experience Moody, our campus visit day. Experience life as a Moody student, attend classes, go to chapel, meet with students and advisors, and explore our world-class city. Learn more about whether Moody is right for you or your student. If you can't make the in-person visit days, we'd love to visit with you online. Learn more about any of our campus visit options at moody.edu/visit.
Keeping your eyes on Jesus in a changing culture can be difficult. Let us help. It's Mornings with Brian on Moody Radio, Cleveland.
Hey-o. Just over here being normal core. That's for sure. Did I say it right? Normal. I'm being normal core.
Yeah, that's fine.
That's what you say when it's not right.
I mean, it's not like an actual thing. You made it up, so. Well, actually,
core?
Lisa made it up.
Okay. Well, there you go. I like Lisa's way of saying it.
Normal core.
852 WCRF. If you missed it, we announced our keynote speaker for the Renew Women's Conference. Dr. Julie Slattery will be speaking as the keynote, along with Taylor James from New Community Bible Fellowship and Glenna Marshall. So you're not going to want to miss any of that. Ladies, get your tickets today. Text RENEW to 440-546-2255. Early bird pricing is available through the end of this month, which ends in just a few days. Text RENEW to 440-546-2255. We'll continue our Olympics coverage, which is haphazard and random on this year's show. It is haphazard. I mean, what do we know?
I liked Celine Dion in the Eiffel Tower. That was nice.
No, I didn't actually get to hear her sing. Did she nail it? I've been so worried about her.
Oh my gosh. Yes. It was a comeback for sure.
Like she was just as good as she used to be.
Well, I don't know about that, but that's also age. Right. Amazing.
Because she had that weird, like...
She's had a neurological disorder. Yes.
Yeah, poor
disease.
Meanwhile...
She hasn't performed in like 4 years or something.
And it's not her fault, but I got so tired of her when Titanic came out because I felt
Well,
like
yeah.
every 10 seconds that Titanic ballad was on.
Right. You know, it was a really good comeback for her. And in the Eiffel Tower, it's pretty cool.
It's super cool. Yeah. I'm really excited for Breaking.
Yes, we'll be watching August 10th or
You
9th.
might be like, wait, what's that, Brian? It's breakdancing. We're just not supposed to call it that.
Yeah, it's not breakdancing anymore. It's just breaking.
Because apparently if you call it dancing, that's not Olympics.
I guess not. Women's rugby sevens was fun to watch.
Oh, I didn't know there was a women's rugby thing. I should have known that, but I didn't. I tried to watch ping pong where it was.
Yeah, it's because you're watching ping pong. So.
Well, but it was. I would have
You
been
watch
able to
ping pong
watch
versus
one
rugby.
match, but it was 4 matches. They divided the screen into quarters.
Wow.
And I just couldn't.
Too much ping pong.
Way too much ping pong.
Mm-hmm.
Table tennis, if you would.
One trend that I appreciate. I'm not a big Flava Flav fan.
Oh, I think I heard about
But
this.
Yes.
he actually found out that the women's water polo team, many of the members of the team were working multiple jobs so that they could support themselves and their team going to the Olympics. And he said, "This is crazy. These are our athletes." And he goes, "I'm assuming this is what he said. I get paid for just being ridiculous and wearing a big clock around my neck."
Yeah, boy.
So he's supporting. He chose that team and said, "I'm going to support you so that you can go and encouraged other entertainers to do the same, because some of these people have freakish amounts of money in the bank, and it would cost them percentage, 1% or less of their savings to support a whole team and, take the archery team to the Olympics, or take, the basketball team. They've got freakish amounts of money already. They can pay their own way. But,
And then he went and watched them.
Yeah.
He was
Oh,
wearing one
nice.
of those little caps that they wear. It was very
Aw.
cute.
A lot
Like
of
a
people,
swim cap?
Yeah, I'm going to find it.
and people don't realize that most of the teams have to raise their own funds to get there. So it's like you train your whole life, and maybe you don't have enough money to go.
Well, there are some of those team sports where you just go, guys, where would I go if I wanted to, for example, play water polo?
A pool somewhere.
Which one?
Well,
Like, where is
gather a
anyone?
bunch of your polo friends and
But I don't
take
have
over
any.
a pool.
This is the thing. It's like, I don't know where is it that there's leagues?
I don't know.
I played water polo on my honeymoon.
Did you?
Yes, in St. Lucia.
That's fun.
Are you sure it wasn't like you were in a pool and there was a volleyball net up?
No,
That's so rude,
the
Brian.
nets were at either end of the
Okay.
playing field.
Flava Flav really
Yes,
is
he has
wearing
a
a swim
little
cap.
swim cap.
Way to go, buddy.
He's supporting
And a
women.
clock, lest there be any
Yes,
confusion.
yeah, of course. He has to be known.
Even more important than that, did you know the French Bible Society has announced they plan to distribute 200,000 special editions of the New Testament?
Oh, wow.
140,000 in French and 60,000 in English.
That's
and
great.
the special edition is named More Precious Than Gold, based on
Nice.
1 Peter 1:7. And it has vignettes in it talking about people in athletics who love Jesus.
That's nice.
Eric
kinda
Little.
fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there you go. You got Flavor Flav. You got the Bible for free. Maybe someone will give him a copy. Yeah?
Maybe, yeah.
You never know. You never. Let's be honest for a minute. Life is hard. It's increasingly difficult to make ends meet. Stress from work can seem never ending. And then there's the challenge of relationships with people around us, like marriages and parenting. There's got to be a way to endure the chaos without losing our joy. And I think we found it. As you head on to work this morning, join us for Mornings with Brian, weekdays starting at 6 a.m. on 103.3 FM.
Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. 103.3 at 6 to 9 a.m.
9 o'clock. That means it's time for us to go. Quick heads up for you, though. Men's synchronized 10-meter platform diving is today. Have you ever seen them do that?
Oh, I do like the diving.
Synchronized diving.
Very scary.
How do they do it?
I don't know. I've never seen it.
I can hardly walk
Oh,
synchronized
Ron, you
with
got to
people.
watch it. At least highlights.
Yeah,
it's very
these
interesting.
Two dudes, and they'll jump at the same
Jump
time.
at the same time, and they
The exact same flippy doodles.
So they've got two
Technical
boards
term.
the same height, not
All of it, yeah. Same height.
Wow.
And then they have to do that like no splash dive.
Oh yeah.
Where I don't know how they do that.
I do maximum splash dives.
Yeah.
Like me too, like cannonballs. Then skateboarding street finals are today. Artistic gymnastics. I don't know what that is, but it's today. You got a bunch of swimming, and even fencing is today.
Ooh.
Ding, 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 ding. It's like lightsaber battles.
On guard.